Hey, what's up, gamers? What are we doing? What are we up to? How we doing? It's very nice to meet... Excuse me. It's very nice to meet all of you. For the first time. Yeah, I'm like... No, I'm like giga tired. I'm like mega exhausted. No, I got like super little sleep. I think I got like 90 minutes of sleep. It was unfortunate. I think I accidentally consumed like... I think I accidentally inadvertently consumed like a shot of espresso at like 6 p.m. I don't know. It was in a smoothie, so. But anyway, nevertheless, we persist. We're just gonna have to push on through it, I think. Sorry, this is as awkward for you as it is for me. Anyway, the audio is crispy. Crispy good, crispy bad. Is crispy... It's hard to place crispy. You know, I hope it's good. Okay, sure. Sounds good. Yeah, that's solid. Crystal clear. That's all I've ever wanted it to be, frankly. I'm increasingly growing of the opinion that the God has the power to do evil argument is actually like really fucking good. I think it's actually like really hard to get out of if you want to maintain. Like, I think that you probably genuinely have to eat like a good amount of humble pie to get out of it. You know, the question like, does God have the power to do an evil thing? I think that you'd have to say, I think the theist is probably forced to say no, but then he's just not all powerful. And there's like the Cope redefinitions, but then all of those suck too. You know, maybe you want to say it's like, oh, well, he can do anything that's within his nature, but, you know, so can a rock. So I don't find, I wouldn't say like a rock is all powerful. So I don't think like just being able to do all the things that are within your nature could possibly be sufficient for being like omnipotent. But anyway, make sure you're double tapping on that screen, sharing it with your friends, doing all that good stuff. Isn't that all anything can do? I think it's maybe there's like some disambiguation that might make it, because I was thinking about this. Like, technically, it's within my nature to do like a double handstand, or I don't know, like some complex like gymnastics routine, but I certainly don't have the power to do that. Maybe it's like a question of like potential. Like you could potentially develop the power to do it, but yeah. Anyway, hey, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. You could also be like a deist. That would probably be fine too. And with that, we'll go to the very first guest. Hey, how's it going?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well. How old are you?
I'm 39.
And what religion?
Right now, Christian. I still give the announcements at church, but I think I'm an atheist, quite frankly.
Sure.
But I just wanted to ask you about paraconsistent logic,
Hmm.
and sort of what are your thoughts on that, especially as it applies to sort of being so. I mean, it seems like mathematicians are very fond of paraconsistent logic, and it works kind of when you're putting it in the frame of practicality, especially in information systems.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't read enough about paraconsistent logic to have a very firm opinion about it. Um, I there are like certainly some smart people who are convinced by it. You know, some of the smartest people I know personally hold to paraconsistent logic, and then there's also like really smart people in literature that hold to it. But I mean, I think it's still like extremely controversial. Like I think among, for example, like philosophers, I think the vast majority of philosophers still accept like the law of non-contradiction. So I don't think there are that many paraconsistent logic holders. Maybe there's like select applications for it. I have no idea. I haven't
Mhm.
read enough
I
to
think
have a very firm opinion.
I was reading about it on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy,
Mhm.
and one of the most practical applications they had is like health systems. So when you have a chart that says this person is allergic to penicillin, and then you have another chart that says this person is not allergic to penicillin, it's not as if you would just delete the chart because of the contradiction. You would hold the contradiction and see if that gives you more information about the chart. And I was kind of, I asked about it in your Discord, and
That's
one of your members said just not to have fruitless conversations about it, but
Oh, I mean, I can't speak about that. I have no idea whether or not the topic is particularly interesting. But hey, is there anything else? Otherwise, I might move on to the next guest.
I mean, no, I can't really figure out a reason why God would exist, and I just have to accept it. But I just wanted to ask about that.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thanks for being in the Discord. You know, I'm
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, I'm sure you're a welcome addition. Hey, if you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. Um, Thanks, Mezzo and Joel, for the raid. I appreciate it. That's more than I can say about that scumbag Dr. Blitz, although that might be my fault. Maybe I started too late. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Should I get my age?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 22. And
Yeah.
I was just a little confused. I
And
mean, like,
wait, sir, what
you're saying,
religion are you?
oh, yeah, of course. Like, I'm Muslim.
Okay, yeah.
I'm Shia.
Mhm.
So, but, I just had a question. Like, you're saying God isn't real, but, like, like, phenotypically, you're clearly, like, of Semitic origin. So, like, I was just, like, wondering, like, you being Jewish, like,
Inaccurate.
why are you saying? Oh, well, you
No.
just look Jewish to me.
Oh, no. Look at that. You
It
know,
was
it's
it was a nose.
it's like a Roman looking nose.
It's
You
not
know,
Roman
that's
looking. It's giving Ashkenazi.
you sure?
It's giving Kabbalah, like it's giving Gollum and shit.
Okay.
But like,
You
yeah,
kind of
like,
sound like evil, like just a little bit evil.
how do I sound evil?
I don't know. You're like coming in here. Well, first of all, you know, I'm not Jewish. And
There's
then
nothing
you
wrong with being
accuse me.
Jewish. I was just
I
saying
agree
that.
there's nothing wrong with being Jewish, but you know, I mean, like between the two of us, you know, I can't be the one who's picking up on social cues, you know, due to how wildly autistic I am. So, you know, if I'm picking up the implications, then it's like pretty obvious.
I mean, what implications are you picking up on?
Yeah, it's
I was
just
just
like
trying to have like a
it's pretty like
theology debate.
obviously anti-Semitic, right? Like
What's anti-Semitic about like asking a question?
just like saying like, wow, you look Jewish, you look like you have like Jewish origins. It's like pretty obviously
I
anti-Semitic.
mean, like, are you like denying that there are like phenotypes associated with certain ethnic backgrounds and like associating that with like cultural
No, I'd agree with
norms as
that. I
well?
just don't think that that's necessarily like an indication that somebody is Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that people characterize certain traits as being Jewish to an extent that doesn't seem to happen. Like, you know, I've had a lot of people, despite the fact that my ancestry is like Irish and German, you know, I've had a lot of people say, wow, you look Jewish. You know, I've never once had a person say, wow, you look like Filipino, or wow, you look like
Well, you don't look
Moroccan, or
Filipino,
like
so.
something like that. So it's just
Well,
kind
you
of
have a Jewish
strange, you know.
phenotype.
I can't, in
Like,
the
you have a
same way
Jewish
that I'm sure
phenotype.
you'd like to consider yourself, you know, a noticer of patterns, you know, I'd also consider myself a noticer of patterns. But
Well,
anyway,
no, I would say
wait,
that's a little,
wait,
that's like a
wait,
dog
wait,
whistle, so I wouldn't say
wait,
that.
wait, sorry. What makes you think God exists?
Yeah, it's just like a lot of things that like pertain to like my belief in theism.
Yeah, go for
So
it. Like, lay
I'm
some
specifically
out.
like a Shia. Yeah, so I'm specifically like a Shia Muslim,
You mentioned.
Persian. Yeah, I did. And it's just certain things that like the Quran like backs that I would say
Like
back
what?
my belief in like theism. Yeah, like the belief that like Allah like, created the universe and
Hmm?
like we have,
What's the evidence for
empirics
that?
behind that, such as well, yeah, it would just be the fact that like we can observe how certain things in the Quran have been predicted about like
Name one.
I don't know why you're laughing.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Oh, sorry, wait. Did that upset you? I can stay stone faced for the
No,
rest of
I
the
was just trying to have like a
conversation.
genuine conversation.
I
I was trying to have a
apologize
genuine
for my
conversation.
laughter. You know, it won't happen again. What's a Quran
No, it's
verse
like
that you think
you're
has been
laughing at like what
fulfilled?
I'm saying, and it's like that's disrespectful, but it's
I
fine.
apologize from the bottom of my heart. You know, stone cold, stone faced for
And
the
now
rest of
you're
the
being
conversation.
sarcastic.
You know, do you want to go ahead and cite the verse?
And now
Because
you're being
I suspect that
sarcastic. Like that's
you
just so
might not even
rude.
be Muslim.
What makes you think that I'm not
Say
Muslim?
the Shahada right now.
In Arabic or in English?
Either.
I can say it in English because I don't speak Arabic.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, there is no God but Allah, Muhammad is his messenger.
Okay. So, what in the
The
Quran
Shahada
makes
is
you
like if you're
think?
trying to quiz. Wait, if you're trying to quiz my
It's just
Muslim
to make
knowledge,
sure that
fine, no
you're
worries. Because like the
because you know, for
Shahada,
example, like
well,
I
the
wouldn't
Shahada
know
is like
that.
basic.
Yeah, no, I know, which is why I'm asking you
I mean,
that.
you debate about theology, so obviously you
Hmm?
know what the
Yeah.
Shahada is.
Well, I know what it is, like conceptually, but I don't have it memorized. But regardless, what in the Quran makes you think
So then
that
why are you speaking about
it's
Islam if you
accurate?
don't know what the Shahada is?
I do know what the Shahada is. I don't know the Shahada word for word. Like I know that the Shahada is
Why?
like how you enter into Islam. It's how you declare yourself Muslim. But I don't know what it is like word for word. Obviously, are you
Okay.
like desperate to like not engage in the substance, or is there a reason
No,
why
I
you're
am
like
trying to
terrified
engage
to
in the
actually engage in
conversation.
like literally like anything to get to the meta? Is what
I
it
don't think I'm
seems like.
terrified to engage. It's
Yeah,
just
if
that
you're
like
not
you keep
terrified
saying
to
like
engage, then
you
give an
keep saying
example
like
of something in
snide,
the
yeah, and then
Quran
you're
that's
just
come
gonna like
true.
talk over me. You like mention something and you're just gonna like talk over me, but it's
I just
fine.
want an
Like
example.
I've
I
been
just
trying
want
to
some
engage
evidence
and
for the
you've been doing like
thing.
well, yeah, I just provided it to you.
Oh, sure. But what was the specific verse?
The specific, like you mean the specific surah? I don't know
Hmm?
why you're like speaking about Islam and you don't know. Well, you're gonna say I'm pivoting if I say that.
Well,
So
no. I
just
just
like I
want
know
to
what
know
you
the
mean.
verse that has been or that provides evidence for Islam being
You mean the
true.
surah?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna talk about religion, at least use like the proper
Yeah,
terminology,
the
but
surah. Yeah, clearly you understood my meaning. So, what
I
is
mean,
it?
yeah, but like you were trying to question my like knowledge of Islam earlier, so I
I was
just
just
thought I would
making
do the
sure
same
that you
thing.
are a Muslim because that's something that a Muslim would know is the
No,
Shahada.
you're clearly like assuming I'm not Muslim because of like outside
I was
factors. Like,
suspecting that you might not be. I still kind of
well, yeah.
am, but
I mean,
wait, sorry. Do you want to go ahead and give the evidence, or is it like?
yeah, I was going to give the
Yeah, go
evidence,
for
but
it.
then you kept like pushing me for like other things. Okay, so I can give you specific surahs.
Yeah,
Do you
please.
want? And hadiths also, but they would be Shia hadiths, not Sunni hadiths.
I didn't
Like,
ask.
you literally asked for like the proof of
Yeah, I
God.
didn't ask like what hadiths
Of
they
the
are.
specific,
I just want to know what the
do you
specific
know what a
evidence for
hadith
Islam
is?
is. Yeah.
Do you know what a
A
hadith
hadith is
is?
a collection of sayings about either like close followers of the prophet that collect sayings about like from the prophet or otherwise like explicate things.
Okay, so then why did you say it wasn't relevant when I mentioned that I had Shia hadiths?
Because what I want first is just some sort of evidence
I said I
that
would
is
provide
predicted by
surahs and
Islam.
hadiths.
Okay, go
That
for
would
it.
be
Yeah,
evidence.
that's fine.
That would be
Actually, provide
evidence.
it.
That would be
Go ahead and
Islamic
provide like the
doctrine.
surahs and the hadiths then.
Exactly. Yeah, specifically, I'm going off of like Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah
What's the number there?
Al-Baqarah. So, yeah, well, yeah, sure. I'll just pull up the specific ones for you. Starting from Surah 1. Sorry.
The first
Surah.
chapter. Nice.
Yeah, that's the first chapter.
Yeah, but what's the specific?
What does it being the first chapter have to do with like anything?
You probably could have just said it's like the first one. Also, I mean, I'm looking. It's apparently they do call them verses. Oh, awkward.
No, well, faithful Muslims like myself say surah, so
Okay.
I follow my faith. Okay, can you just like stop like diverting off topic and like letting,
That's
like
so
can I get some
ironic.
substance?
Okay, wait. So let's.
It's not ironic. It's not ironic.
I'll read the entire first chapter, and then what you're gonna do is tell me how this demonstrates God's existence. In the name
Yeah,
of
it would
Allah,
be
the most
proof of Allah.
compassionate, most merciful, all praise is for Allah, Lord of all worlds, the most compassionate, most merciful, and master of the day of judgment. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us along the straight path, the path of those you have blessed. Not those who are displeased with or those who are astray. Why does any of that provide any evidence for thinking that God exists?
Well, yeah, because it's like written in the Quran.
Sure. So do you think
Muhammad
like something being written in like the Odyssey means that the Odyssey is true?
Well, no, because that's shirk. So
Sure. But why would I think that what you believe in is true? Like you disbelieve that. Why would I believe this? Like what's
well,
the
yeah,
symmetry
because Muhammad
breaker?
said so.
Oh, sure. And why do
Like
I give
Muhammad
a fuck
said-
what Muhammad said?
Well, yeah, because Muhammad is the prophet. Peace be upon
What's
him.
the evidence for that?
The evidence that Muhammad was the prophet. Peace
Yeah.
be upon him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would just be like the many like first and second hand accounts like written from his time, from his like messages that he received from Allah,
Like what?
such as like various surahs that he like gave because he was illiterate. It was
Nice.
Allah speaking to him.
Nice. Goated.
I mean,
yeah.
what's nice? Like
Do you
you're
have,
trying to be condescending. You're being
Do
like
you have
condescending. I don't
specific
like
evidence, right? Because I've asked you like for
that. I
some
provided
evidence.
specific evidence.
You have
I
not.
have provided specific
You've done nothing
evidence.
but beg the question.
haven't been
Your
begging
evidence
any
is
question.
literally the first chapter of the Quran. I don't grant that what's in here is true. Why would I think that what's in the first chapter is true?
Well, because it's true. Like I mean, that's what
Based, yeah,
like
it's true
that's what the
because it's
that's what the
true.
prophet had. to
So
provide.
fucking based, dude. You're like a rhetorical juggernaut.
Am I
Yeah,
really?
yeah. Do you have anything else? Otherwise, I might just assume that you're trolling.
I mean, I'll just like take that as a concession because it's
Well,
like,
wait.
really,
Do you
you're
have
too
anything
low
else?
IQ.
Is what I asked.
You're too like low IQ to like engage.
Sounds
with
like you
my
don't have anything
intellectual
else.
arguments.
Correct?
Yeah, well, you're too low IQ. To
Yeah, I'm
engage,
too low
so-
IQ to engage with the argument. It's true because it's true. Do you really think that the audience is going to
That's not
forget
my
that?
argument.
You literally said it's true because it's true.
That wasn't. An
That's like a
argument
word
that I
for word quote
provided.
from you.
Is that an argument that I provided?
Yeah,
like
it is,
asked
like
me the
5
question.
seconds ago.
You
Yeah,
said
literally. You
why would that
literally
be?
said
You said
it.
why would that be true? And then I said because it's true.
Yeah, it's true because it's true. You literally said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that an argument?
Yeah. X
Why would that be an
because
argument?
Y is an argument. Yeah. It's an informal argument.
Yeah, wouldn't be. Yeah, it would be an informal argument.
Yeah,
like me
which is
saying
a
that.
type of argument.
But I only hold to like formal arguments. Like if I was going to provide an argument, I would give you like a syllogism.
Okay, well then why did you give
I would
an
give you a
invalid
syllogism
argument?
if I was like.
Yeah,
I mean, I
please.
can give
What's
you
the
like a
syllogism?
Yeah, it would be like premise one. Like
Let me write it down
Muhammad.
even. That's
Are
a
you ready?
syllogism would be great even. We'd be able to make so much more progress.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah.
Are you ready?
Yep, premise 1.
Yeah, premise one. Muhammad is like the prophet, peace be upon him.
Premise 2.
Premise two, like he had people write the Quran for him.
Premise
You got to put
3.
the Quran. You have to put it like capital P. I mean capital Q.
Okay. Whatever helps you get through this sensitive time.
No, you have to put it. Okay. And then the conclusion. Because he was the
Fucking
because he
goated.
was yeah, that's the conclusion.
Yeah, the conclusion is what?
The conclusion would be because he had people write the Quran for him, and he was a prophet, peace be upon him.
People
like that makes the
write
Quran
the
true.
Quran. Oh, you want the for him upon him. What inference rule does this follow?
I don't know. I guess like P.
Okay. Oh, based. Yeah, it follows P. So fucking based. Okay, I'm moving on. If you're in that guest request box, make sure that you're 18 or older. Make sure that you believe in the God of the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. And with that, we'll go to the very next guest. Hey, how's it going?
Beach boy.
Beach Boy. You can find me at the beach. It's like Beast Boy from Teen Titans. Is that it? That was your only voice line?
Uh-huh.
Do I have to like
Beach
reload
Boy.
I have to like reload the save to hear the line again, or you got like a Woody drawstring? Hey, what's up? We
Hello?
talked. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked before, right?
Yep. So how old are you and what religion are you? Remind me.
I'm 18 and I probably lean towards Catholicism right now.
You'd probably what?
Lean towards Catholicism.
Sure. Yeah, what makes you think God exists?
Well, last time we talked, you kind of made your critique of the Kalam cosmological argument.
Yeah.
It was that, what do you say? God could be in God was in a non-creating and then creating state, right?
Well, it's a dilemma. One of two things is true. Either God begins to create or God doesn't begin to create. If God begins to create, then he changes, so he would be in time. And there are further implications for why, that leads to like some further dilemma where either God begins to exist or God is past infinite. But then the alternative is that God is just eternally created, which means that creation just eternally exists, which means that it doesn't begin to exist. So either way, the Kalam seems to undermine itself.
But I think like a theist could say that God performs like one eternal timeless act.
Yep.
So he's not changing.
Yeah. But well, in that circumstance,
and what's the dilemma in that?
Yeah, well, that just takes one of the horns of the dilemma, and that, if God is eternally creating and God's act of creation is causally sufficient for the universe to exist, well, then the universe just exists from eternity, so the universe doesn't begin to exist.
Okay, forget the eternal. God performs one timeless act that comes into effect at the beginning of the universe.
What does that mean for it to? So God is eternally performing it. Is it causally sufficient for the universe to exist?
Not eternally. I removed eternally from.
Okay. Well, then God would
Just
need to
one
change from not
timeless
creating
act,
to creating.
Which effect comes into the beginning of the universe?
Yeah, so then he would change from not causing to causing.
No, he's never not causing. I said it was
well, then
one timeless act.
If he's eternally the cause, then the effect is eternal.
Not eternally, just one timeless act, because eternity implies time, and we're talking about
eternity
time.
just means without beginning or end.
Yeah, but it's a temporal word.
No,
it's only used in temporal context.
Categorically false. If you'll look into the property, you should look into divine.
An example where eternity
yes, I can.
Not...
I'm more than happy to. In fact, I'll give you a great resource. If you go into the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and you look up the article on eternity, they got eternity in Christian thought. This will
I'm talking about the
clarify the
definition
term
of
for
the
you.
word. All right. If I go to the Oxford definition,
I'm using the philosophical definition. Okay, so the term eternity plays a key role in discussions about how the God of Western theism relates to time. These discussions have a long and venerable history. They're also lively contemporary interest. The reason for this long-standing and continued interest is straightforward. How one sees God's relationship to time has repercussions throughout philosophy of religion and philosophical theology. How much and in what way does God's relationship to time and thus his nature differ from ours? How much can meaningfully be said, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, this one, when we look at some views on God and time, we got divine timelessness and divine temporality. So there's like entire groups of Christianity or like entire like theologians who would describe God's eternity as timeless. Eternity
I
just refers to one thing that, interestingly enough, the only thing that the proponents of divine timelessness and divine temporality agree with each other on is that God's eternity includes that he doesn't begin to exist or cease to exist.
but I just think you can't use these words because we're talking about
I'm not talking about
like
time.
outside of a timeline.
I'm not using eternity in a temporal sense.
Can you just give a one sentence definition for the type of eternity you're talking about
Yeah, I
without
take that to
without
be
talking about God?
yeah, I take an eternal thing to be something that exists but doesn't begin to exist or cease to exist.
But exist implies time.
That's the infinity blender. If you're saying God is timeless but exists implies time, then that would imply that God doesn't exist.
Sorry.
You categorically don't want to say that. Otherwise, like, you would just trivially concede that God doesn't exist.
All right. So how does this critique the argument?
Yeah. What this demonstrates is that there's going to be, if the horn of the dilemma that you want is that God's act of creation is eternal, well,
It's
God,
not eternal. I said
okay,
it's
then
timeless.
it begins.
It's just one act.
Does
Like,
it begin or does it not begin? Does God begin to create or does he not begin to create?
Again, it's one timeless act which effect comes into the beginning of the universe.
But I want to know, does God begin to create or does he not begin to create?
I don't think he begins to create. No.
Okay. Well, then God is creating without beginning. So then creation exists without beginning.
Yes, the source begins without beginning in the timeless state again, which God is in, and
Sure.
then it comes to effect through a beginning. That's
Okay,
what I was
cool. Then we agree that creation doesn't begin to exist.
Creation, of course, implies a beginning. So I think you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to trip me up with like semantics, but the creation force within God does not begin to exist. It's a timeless act of will.
I mean, maybe you just didn't like hear yourself, but you did like literally agree to that. That's fine. I'm not going to hold you to it if you don't actually believe it. But you know, if God's act of creation doesn't begin, it's just kind of always there. It's timelessly there. Well, then the effect of that causal act doesn't begin either, because the act is sufficient for the effect.
What is the problem with it coming into effect in
Because
the beginning?
If you have an eternal
Like if
cause,
if I
yeah.
throw a ball at someone's head, I'm throwing it, but the act of throwing it was done, before when it actually hit the guy's head, which would be creation.
Oh,
Like,
you
does that
for
make
sure
sense?
don't want to say that God's act of creation is like temporally before. Otherwise, that would place
Yeah, no,
God's act
of
of
course it's
creation
not
as a temporal thing.
it's not a complete analogy because it's within time, but you get what I'm saying. Like
No.
it's one act that when the ball hits the head, that's kind of analogous to creation starting, but obviously in a non-temporal sense.
Yeah. So I think I understand what you're trying to say. Unfortunately, there's kind of just no way around this. If God's act of creation, if God is eternally creating, then creation is eternal. If God doesn't begin to create, he's just always creating, then creation doesn't begin to exist, it just always exists because God's act of creation is sufficient for creation.
Yeah, I think we disagree on this.
Okay. Is
Wait,
there something else you wanted to talk about then?
Do you know, like, I don't know, this might be like, I don't know, a low tier argument, but like the Eucharistic miracles, like some of the more robust ones, like the 1996 Buenos Aires one.
Sure. I'm like vaguely familiar with this one. One thing that I find striking, and I know that there are like Catholic reasons for why they do this, but you know, they just don't have these things tested by some other laboratory, like secular laboratories. They could have easily done that, but I know because they have like religious reasons for why they, you know, it just leads to like this stalemate where I have like plausible naturalistic explanations. You know, there's like certain types of bacteria that look like blood.
Sorry, sorry, someone entered the room. I'm sorry. Can you just repeat that? I'm so sorry.
So there's like there's a certain type of bacteria that grows on bread that looks like blood.
Yeah.
So, and unless
Oh,
we like
this is the
set that,
fungal response.
yep,
You're saying it was don't you think doctors would have known if it was
they didn't have it
fungus?
tested by neutral doctors. They didn't send it to any lab where it was done, where like exclusive or I don't know, conclusive testing was done.
I'm pretty sure the doctors were atheists,
Oh,
especially the leading one.
that would be fascinating. I promise that that's not true, but I'll look it up right now.
Wait, let me search up who the individual doctors were.
Buenos Aires.
It was like no, because then one of them was converted. That's like a part of why the miracle was so compelling. Let me come on notes. Yeah, it was Dr. Gomez and Dr. Zugaby.
Did they have a study that they published?
I could search it up. Let me see. Well, again, okay. Here's my dilemma. I think atheists, when they come to miracles, they have like a huge double standard. So what I'd say is, if your doctor said that you have a fever or a condition, you trust him, right? Because it's more probable that he is telling the truth. So, but when you come to this case and a doctor says, well, this is human blood, then you suddenly want peer-reviewed papers and extra things. So why do you have that double standard?
Yeah, because
Even though
what you're
you don't ask for
positing-
peer review.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. The explanation for this is quite simple. You know, it's because when my doctor diagnoses me with a cold or whatever, that's natural. That's a natural thing. You know, what you're saying happens here is supernatural. Now, we have really good reason to think that supernatural things don't happen. Otherwise, the laws of physics are just totally incorrect. It would entail violations of things like conservation of energy, conservation of momentum. So we have really good reason to think that those things hold. You know, they've held every single time we've ever tested them. So we have fantastic reason to think that supernatural things don't exist. So we would need fantastic reason to think that they do exist. We would need like fantastic evidence to.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's dodging the question a bit.
I think this was like a super direct answer.
The whole claim is supernatural, but the individual parts of it are just completely materialistic claims. Like it was normal bread, then it became flesh. Obviously, if you look at the whole picture, it's a supernatural claim, but the individual claims which were investigated are materialistic, and that's why I'm saying, why do you have double standards to those claims investigated by the doctors?
Well, I don't grant that this is like a double standard. You know, I don't think that by just well, sorry, what technique did they use to? Are you familiar with what technique?
I'm not sure. It's pretty simple. I mean, they could have just done some tests like with.
Oh boy, this is like very unconvincing. I hope this isn't like the actual piece.
I mean, sorry.
This is like.
I could search it up.
No, I'm like looking at it. I don't know. I guess like spaghetti sauce warning. All of you guys who are. I don't know. I just don't find like.
I mean,
the claim
I think,
is that this is like
again,
muscle.
It was like human heart tissue, I think, from the left ventricle. Again, it's very simple for
Okay, they weren't fake doctors, they were real doctors. I mean, a real doctor can easily, he doesn't need a peer-reviewed paper or multiple people. He can easily identify through simple tests if
Like, what
something
simple
is.
test did they do?
Okay, I'll search.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Sorry. Give me a moment.
Oh no. What is this
No, no,
guy's
I'm-
Amazon book not exist anymore? Okay.
Wait, no.
Thank fuck. I was getting worried that this guy's book got taken down for some reason.
They did a light microscopy test. So I mean, again, it's have you ever done science?
How would
before? If
you?
look,
Do you think that would be
identify-
sufficient for?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
identify
What was the distinct feature?
characteristics of
What was the
cells.
distinct feature of like the left ventricle of the heart that they saw?
Okay, it says I don't know how to pronounce this, but immunohistochemical analysis
Immunohistochemical.
using antibodies to detect specific proteins found in particular tissues, such as the left ventricle. So this confirmed that the tissue is cardiac muscle, and then the markers consistent
Does it?
with.
So I'm looking at.
They found markers consistent.
And what are you reading off of? Can I just get like the source? That would be helpful. Or is it ChatGPT? Oh no.
No, it's not. It's Safari.
Okay, but what's like the
salvatormundi.ie and
Salvatore Mundi?
and sfarch.org and review.
Wait, let's do one at a time. So we got Salvatore Mundi Revisited. Is that the one? What's the Salvatore Mundi?
.ie. .ie.
What's the name of the article?
1996 Eucharistic Miracle of Buenos Aires.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I put salvatoremundi.ie in, and it's the site cannot be found.
Really, I'm on it right now.
Maybe I misspelled the URL.
Oh yeah, it's not. You put an I in.
Okay, so it's without the I.
Yeah. I mean, this seems like a Catholic website, so maybe you want to look at the others, which would be more non-biased.
Did they set any sources?
The other sources.
Okay, so I'm looking. Where do I go to find the? Is it under blogs or?
I just searched it up and it came up.
Well, there isn't a search feature that I'm finding.
If I could share my screen, I would, but I don't think I can.
Well, wait, just walk me through it. So, okay, so do I go to the donations, the prayer cards, schools, volunteers, children art?
I guess
Is
go
the blog?
search. Is there a search?
There isn't.
There should be.
Yep. Can't I agree there should be, but nevertheless, here we are.
Okay, go to. I mean, are you really saying these doctors are lying? Like, I think that's a pretty.
I don't even know who these doctors are. Who are they?
Dr. Frederick Zugaby and
Dr. Frederick
Ricard.
Zugaby.
Just put Frederick Zugaby, 1996 miracle, and then Ricardo Gomez, Castanon Gomez.
Oh, I don't think it's this Zugaby. Oh
Just
no,
put
maybe it is this Zugaby. The one that only researches like Christian things.
Forensic pathologist.
Yeah, this Zugaby that only investigates like
Just-
Christian things.
Just put Frederick T. Zugaby.
No, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. The one that only examines Christian things.
Can you share your screen, please?
Yeah,
Can you zoom
Frederick
out?
Thomas Zugaby, medical examiner of Rockland County, New York, from 1969 to 2002.
Sorry, can you zoom out a bit?
Zugaby was known for his research and books on forensic medicine, as well as his crucifixion and Shroud of Turin studies. Wow.
Can you zoom out?
Yeah.
Because I can't really see it.
Is this the convert, or is the convert a different one?
If it doesn't mention the 1996 miracle, then it's probably not him.
Well, no. It does. It's like a footnote. One of the people investigating the Eucharistic miracle of Buenos Aires.
Where is it?
What do you mean?
So
this
I
line?
can't see it. Oh yeah. Yeah, what about it?
Yeah. I think that this dude might have like a vested interest in the outcome.
Okay. Okay. So go to the other doctor then, the one who is atheist.
What's the other one's name?
Ricardo with a R, Gomez with a Z, who is a neuropsychophysiologist, a former atheist, and converted to Catholicism.
Okay, I'm looking.
And he I think he did the immunohistochemical analysis. Oh no, actually even better, he oversaw the testing, so as an atheist he
What
would have seen
site are you looking at, though?
Sorry?
What site are you looking at?
sfarch.org. I mean, all of this is kind of adding to your double standard. This is kind of going in my favor, because would you try and go to this extensiveness to see if your doctor said that you're the cold?
Well,
No,
is
you
my cold
wouldn't.
supernatural in nature?
Again, it's not. This part of the claim is not supernatural. Right now, we're discussing
You don't think
whether.
like blood being found in I don't know, you don't think like the holy bread turning into like
No, I don't think blood
agonized
is supernatural.
blood is maybe like
Blood
a
is not
supernatural thing? I
supernatural.
agree, blood isn't supernatural.
Yeah,
But I think
and
the
so when-
process of bread turning
well-
into blood that is like undergone like intense agony, that might be supernatural, I think.
But we're talking about, did the doctors actually did they examine?
Why is there a reason
substance
why you
in
get
the
like very
blood?
defensive every time I'm just trying to like find the evidence, right? Like I just want like a website that's unbiased. Can you just provide me like a website that's unbiased?
sfarch.org.
Okay, wait, how do you spell?
S. Farch.
Sfarch.
FARCH.org.
FACH.org? sfarch.fach.org?
FARCH.
FA. Okay. Well, clearly there's a miscommunication somewhere. So I got sfarch.farch.org. SF Arch? Oh, like the San Francisco Archdiocese? Surely it's not the San Francisco Archdiocese that you're citing.
Sorry? No.
Surely you're not citing the San Francisco. Oh no. Oh
No,
no.
no.
Oh
It's
no.
what are you doing? Oh
Do
yeah,
you
no,
think that,
not
do you
that
think that
one.
this is like an unbiased source?
Not that one. Sorry. It stands for scientific. Oh wait. Okay. I can try and see other sources, but
Yeah, it's just like one that's like one that isn't like just from a website that is Christian would be like fantastic. I would honestly even take like a Wikipedia article on it.
okay. Let's see. Yeah, there is a Wikipedia article. It's in it's in French though, so you're gonna have to translate it.
Why is it in French? Okay, that's so strange, but
Miracle Eucharistique de Buenos Aires. Or maybe, yeah, no, it's French.
the
I mean,
Eucharistic.
this is the Wikipedia. I don't know why.
Okay, sure. Let's look at it. Extensive examinations are being conducted primarily on the material relating to the 1996 event, but also on that of the
Wait, how you
1992 event.
translating it so
There's
fast?
there's like a translate button in the top corner.
Oh, is it the three? What does it say?
Like the option just pops up.
Where? Sorry.
Maybe it's because I'm on like PC, but no, it just popped up for me.
What do you mean popped up?
It just popped up in the right hand corner.
Okay. Didn't do it for me. Anyways,
Yep.
I'll
so-
trust you. Oh,
yeah.
can you share your screen actually?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Nice.
I don't know. It's probably too small. Okay.
That's fine.
Extensive examinations are being conducted primarily on the material relating to the 1996 event, but also on that of the 1992 event. October 5th, 1999, Professor Ricardo Gomez, in the presence of representatives of the Archbishop, took a sample of the material. The sample was sent for forensic and analytical genetic laboratory in San Francisco without its origin being specified. It was concluded that the sample tested negative in the blood test, that minute quantities of DNA were present, insufficient to obtain a genetic profile. Samples of the material were also sent to Frederick Zugabe of Columbia University, a renowned cardiologist and forensic pathologist. March 26, 2005, his results identified the sample as human flesh and blood. According to Zugabe, it was a fragment of cardiac muscle found in the wall of left ventricle near the valves. Professor Zugabe, observing how the white blood cells penetrated the myocardial tissue, stated that the heart was subjected to severe stress as its owner had been severely beaten in the chest. Zugabe, asserting the white blood cells can only remain alive for a few minutes in human tissue submerged in water, was astonished to find that the cells in the sample were beating as a heart would. Wait, what? Okay, that's wacky, but sure. According to Zugabe, there was no way to scientifically explain these elements. Australian journalist Mike Willisi was present during Zugabe's statement.
Sorry, can you zoom out? Because I can only see like... Yeah, because like the side parts are cut out.
Okay, I don't know if this is helpful, but sure. A sample is also compared by Dr. Ricardo Gomez with that of the Luciano miracle, which is said to have taken place around the year 700 in Italy, which was scientifically analyzed in the 1970s. His conclusion is that it is the same person. Although a blood type is somewhat mentioned in connection with the Buenos Aires hosts, it was never actually been scientifically tested. Wait, but what? That feels like trivial, right? Like if you did like a blood test, then you would just know what the blood
I'm
type
not.
it is.
I don't think the blood relation is really.
How? Okay, so here's something that's curious. How is Zugabe coming to the conclusion that it's human flesh and blood if he didn't do a blood test?
I mean, didn't he say he literally? Wait, can you go up? He said the white blood cells penetrated the myocardial tissue.
The white blood cells penetrated the mitocardial tissue. Okay, so he's saying that there's like,
And also, Dr. Gomez, who was an atheist, was
is that mentioned in
basically
the
what-
article?
I'm sure it'll be mentioned.
Okay.
I mean, you
yeah.
could
Wait,
just
let's
search
just
it.
read through till the end. Okay. None of the following analyses, however, have been published in a scientific journal or by a scientific publishing house. Of course, classic, always. Criticisms regarding the methodology and interpretation, according to Stacy Tresnakos, PhD in chemistry, the tiny amount of DNA found in 1999 is explained by the fact that the host was handled by various intermediaries before being submitted to scientific analysis. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it was on the floor. Some scientists have expressed reservations about the methodology used and the interpretation of the results. A study published in 2024 in the Journal of Forensic Science and Research raises several critical points. The approach could have been more objective by seeking the opinion of scientists from other disciplines, particularly microbiologists and mycologists. A blinded study with control slides would have been more commendable to avoid any bias in interpretation. The very low concentration of human DNA detected could be characteristic of contamination by contact rather than a miraculous origin. The sample also contained good quality non-human DNA, a fact often overlooked in reports about the miracle. Oof, awkward. Other possible sources of non-miraculous DNA, such as bacteria, fungi, and plants, have not been sufficiently considered. Mike Willisi and Ron Tesoriero report that the film crew, of which they were a part, along with Ricardo Gomez, who initiated the investigation into the Buenos Aires miracle, acted under the influence of a mystic, Katia Rivas, who asked them to conduct the investigation on behalf of Jesus,
What?
with whom she claimed to be in contact by telepathy. Wow, we really went off the fucking rails with this one. What are the sources
Wait, so
on that?
what did Gomez do? Who was Gomez?
So apparently they got like a bunch of dudes with GoPros. It sounds like what happened is that they went and they got like their tarot read, and then this like Rivas woman was like, Seven of Swords, not good, dude, not good. Jesus wants you to go and fucking like investigate this miracle. And then they did.
Wait, you're saying Gomez was, I don't know, forced to say? Or was he
No,
coerced?
well, it sounds like he was encouraged by a mystic who asked them to conduct the investigation on behalf of Jesus. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, but
I'm
would that
curious, like what the
sway-
sources here are.
Wait, if a mystic told you that, that it was in the net, you wouldn't believe it, right? So why would Gomez flipping be persuaded?
I wouldn't go on a life uprooting journey. I simply wouldn't go on a journey of that sort on behalf of like a mystic, and certainly not on behalf of Jesus.
Yeah. I don't really know. I don't think.
Apparently, this might be. I would need to read the book. I mean, we would need to read the book to be sure about this, but this is like potentially like really damning, which is that the source for the mystic claim is the same dude. Wait, let me verify before I say something silly. Where the fuck did that page go? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's claimed by like one of the people who was literally on like the team. Like he wrote like a book about it.
What was claimed?
The Ricardo Gomez person initiated the investigation into the miracle under the influence of a mystic who asked them to conduct the investigation on behalf of Jesus.
Wait, do we know who this mystic is?
Yeah, her name's Katya Rivas.
Wait, Katya Rivas. Okay, I'm gonna search it up. A Christian mystic, not just like a random.
Yep. Wow, apparently she has a bit of a following. I wonder if I could set up a debate with her.
Is she still alive?
Inshallah, no. I have no idea. Maybe. I think she
She was
might.
born in
Oh yeah. I think so. I
1945.
think so. I am glad that we did this deep dive because now I have this talking point in the back of my pants, which is that this is like it's kind of like too on the nose. It's like you'd put this in like a textbook talking about like motivated reasoning, and then you'd erase it and be like, no, that's too like blatant, right? Like that's too silly that you're going on this hunt at the advice of a mystic. You're like literally traveling with like a camera crew because a mystic said that Jesus wanted you to.
Wait,
And then
okay.
you go and find that it's like a human cell, but you know, you don't publish it in like a peer-reviewed journal, which is like, you know, I think me personally, I think I'd publish it in a peer-reviewed journal. Chat, what do you think? Don't you think this is the sort of thing that you'd probably want published?
It might have not been allowed to. I'm not sure
Why not?
because of like the Catholic Church and stuff.
Why doesn't the Catholic Church want their stuff peer-reviewed?
There might be like certain rules in the catechism. Not sure. Anyways, wait. Have you? I don't know. Like move from one thing to another.
That's okay. Yeah, we can move off of this. I thought it was super interesting, but yeah. Do you
Wait, for like the most like robust miracle definitely is, I'm sure you've heard of it, is the one at Zaytun in Egypt.
Oh, the one at Zaytun
That's-
in Egypt.
That's like by far the most compelling one. And actually I agree, the 1996 one is pretty dodgy. But this one seems much more like uncritiquable because like hundreds of thousands of people witnessed it.
Yeah. Okay.
And like loads of people were converted to Christianity from like atheism and Islam.
So I think here's a good question. Why is there no video footage of it?
I'm pretty
This-
sure there's photos of it.
No, I know, but why isn't there like video footage? Like we have tons and tons of video footage of
Because
like the Vietnam War, for example,
digital
like color
cameras
video.
were extremely rare back then, and only like rich people could afford them.
They were
I'm pretty sure.
rare in a sense, but I mean that didn't stop us from having like tons of footage of like the Vietnam War in color, shot with like some dude with a camera, right? Like you're telling me that like tens of hundreds of thousands of people saw this, not one single one filmed it?
You sure there are no videos?
Not that I can find. I've tried to find videos in the past.
Oh, well, apparently there are videos.
Oh, sure, that would be super interesting. Let's
Wait, I'm just looking. Maybe it's clickbait. I don't know.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Wait.
I'm like hovering through like the YouTube shorts.
Yeah, same. Also, wait, you're saying, but you know there was no Photoshop or CGI back then, so I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that because it's my understanding that the photos actually were modified. That these are like artist like recreations, like a lot of like the ones that get wheeled out as being like the compelling photos from Our Lady of Zayatun are literally just like some artist's drawing.
Wait, apparently there are videos on YouTube
Not that I'm able to find.
on what's the site called? This is not gonna look good, but it's called The Christian Way.
Is that the I'm fine watching like a YouTube video of this if the YouTube video like includes
Yeah, apparently it does.
okay, the Christian way.
Or the channel's called The Christian Way. Wait, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, let's throw this into we gotta flex our
Yeah, I've got it up. I mean, video footage is video footage, right? You can't change that.
yeah, I mean they have like all this video footage of like the people gathering together. But then still it's only still images. Like, isn't that pretty damning that they have video footage of the people coming together, but not video footage of the thing itself?
Oh, it's 16 minutes, so
Yeah. That's fine. I don't want to jump the gun or whatever.
but again, like loads of skeptics like you and others were converted to this, and if they obviously thought that it wasn't, I mean, this is why this miracle is the most robust, because hundreds of thousands of people, including thousands of atheists and Muslims, you know, would have easily been able to critique it, but they didn't. So how do you respond to that?
Well, wait, sorry, but can we just get like the quick acknowledgement that indeed there is no like video footage? Like look at that. They have video footage of everything but the event, right? Like but then when it comes to this, they only have like still frames. Why? Why would that be?
Maybe it was too
no.
bright or something. I don't know.
But then how could it be okay? One sec. How could it be acceptable lighting to take photos, but not acceptable lighting to take videos? I don't know. Like, this is actually like way more damning than I thought because they literally have all these video. Like, of course they must have tried to take videos of like the event itself, and then the videos probably just didn't turn out very good.
Apparently, Egyptian television reportedly filmed several appearances.
Okay, it's kind of strange that we don't have any you know, nobody thought that the video footage was worth my reading of this is that everyone is under the impression that the still frames are like substantially better than the video footage. Whatever video footage they have, they don't think it's very good. Otherwise, they would show that instead of the still frames.
Yeah, but like if you're, I don't know, like photos are like much more clear. Like if you want to show something, normally you have like you'd rather have a high resolution photo instead of a low resolution video.
If I saw like a video that looked like these photos, man, that would be really compelling.
Would you convert? I'll try and find it.
I would certainly like update. Like if you had like a video that
Wait, are we
looked
getting you
very
to convert on
similar.
stream? Are we converting you on stream if we
I
find
would
a video?
certainly I'd
That would be
probably
awesome.
update my priors to be more in line with Christianity. Like
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
I would
that-
definitely it would definitely be something that would like strike me as like compelling if
Okay. Wait, do you want to move on to the next guest, and I'll really do a deep search into any videos?
yeah,
of this.
please.
And then maybe tomorrow or I don't know later on in this stream, if I find a video, I'll show.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that would be I don't know, I'd be interested. But hey, thanks so much. Appreciate you. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen sharing with friends to know the good stuff. Allison, thanks so much for the 1 month membership. I absolutely love your channel. Honored to be here, Ian. Thank you so much, Allison. It's an honor to have you. I appreciate that. DJ RP, thanks so much for the 6 month membership. I like to argue that if God doesn't have the power to change his nature, he's not omnipotent. I don't know about that. I think the reasonable restriction that you want to place on omnipotence is like you want to say that he can do everything that's like metaphysically possible. But he's like a necessary being, so then his nature would also just be necessary. I don't know. I think that the theist probably has an out to that. Garbage Man, thanks so much for the super chat. Meso does great work about a cow with omni-moo potence. It really demonstrates the silliness, but also makes the subject more intuitive. Yeah, Meso's pretty good at that stuff. I think you told me about this once. Larry, thanks so much for the $50 super chat. Well done in the struggle against the Dunning-Kruger effect. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Larry. Let's get a big W for Larry. I don't know, huge supers like that. I don't know. It's helpful for me. You know, as you guys know, I'm going back to school. I'm taking some classes. I hope one day to go to grad school within like the next couple of years for philosophy. And it's going to be expensive. But I'm able to, so far I've been able to take community college courses with some philosophy of religion professor that I really respect. And he's helped me substantially. He's made my arguments way better. And I'm able to bring those good, better developed arguments over here. Grimlock, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Hydration donation. You're all freaks. All of you are freaks. You just listen to it. You listen to the drinking ASMR like freaks. Dr. Fudge, thanks so much for the super chat. Obviously, better to not get trolls, but at least I think you deserve a better class of troll. I miss Banjo Guy. We all miss Banjo Guy. Peel, thanks so much for the super chat. I love your lives. I tried watching the replays of the lives at work, and there were ads exactly every 2 minutes, LOL. Well, listen, you know, I disavow that, but you know, you should persist. Trust. Larry, thanks so much for the 14-month membership. How dare you smile, giggle, or laugh at Dumbassery or smirk? I'm sorry, Larry. It won't happen again. Smirk has been wiped off my face. Ray, thank you so much for the 10 Canuck bucks. The specific bacteria responsible for Buenos Aires is Serita marcunzes. I think that's the one that pops up when you look up, like, I don't know, like bacteria that looks like blood that forms on bread. I'm the Big Cheese. Thanks so much for the super chat. If your doctor told you that you have cancer without running any lab tests, then you should be skeptical. True. I'm the Big Cheese. Thanks so much for the super chat. It's funny how purported haunted hotel rooms and the Loch Ness Monster have more robust studies and research than every Catholic miracle combined. It's kind of strange, right? You know, the Catholic, all the while, like the Pope is like, my mom said I can't come over. I'm sorry, guys. I guess mom said no. Bill Ashby, thanks so much for super chat. I feel like you had this conversation 2 weeks ago. Maybe. Possibly. TL Pineapple, thanks so much for super chat. In your counter tag argument from Sunday, doesn't the concession that it's not possible to do evil inherently defeat tag, as evil couldn't be transcendentally explained by God? Yes. Oh gosh, I see what you're saying. Yes. I think that's a great point. In fact, like some theists will actually try to ground like modality, like possibility and necessity in God's powers. Like they want to say that what like the metaphysics of possibility, like what metaphysical structure underlies that is just God's powers. That possibility is just an abstraction of God's powers. Like for example, Brian Leftow takes this view, but the problem is that seems to imply that it's possible for God to do horrendous evil, which is like not great if you want to say that he's all good. It seems to imply that it's possible for God to like learn things, which is not great if you want to say that he's all knowing. No Silk, thanks so much for super chat. Pretty sure if you sent a sample to a cardiologist, they're going to assume it's a heart tissue. True, that makes sense. Nathan Martin, thank you so much for the GOAT trophy. I appreciate that. Peter Hollingshead, thanks so much for super chat. Caller says that you don't go to this extent when your doctor tells you that you have a cold, but then demonstrates that he hasn't taken a critical look at a single source outside of his cult. True. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of strange that there's no sources. Kelly, thanks so much for super chat. If God was cool with doing the miracle of the sun and there weren't free will issues, why can't he do it again, especially on this live? Many have wondered, many have asked, many have puzzled, but none have fit the pieces together. Ivy Ann, thanks so much for super chat. Strange how Mary never shows up at the Vatican. Yeah, she's going on a little tour. She's like Flat Stanley. Sir James, thanks so much for super chat. Join the Discord. We're nice, promise. You should all join the Discord. It's discord.gg/allegedlyian. We also do a reading group. The next reading group is the 8th. It's gonna be fun. We're reading Rosalind Hursthouse's On Virtue Ethics. I forget what the chapter is, but it's the second chapter in the virtuous motivation section. Simeon Shurin, thanks so much for super chat. Thank you so much for helping me survive the hell that is Target. That's what I do. It's who I am. Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Yep. How old are you?
I'm sorry, 1 second. Trying to put in my AirPods. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep. How old are you?
Okay. I am 27.
Yep. And what religion?
I am Christian.
Yep. What makes you think God exists?
What makes me think God exists is, well, I guess you could say how I grew up with hearing about God, but I also grew up around a lot of demonic stuff going on in the house. So pretty
Okay.
interesting.
I mean, what makes you think that it was demonic and couldn't have like some other explanation?
Well, because I was like super young, like 4 years old, 5 and 6 years old, and it's stuff that I couldn't explain to my mom until later, and she said the same thing was happening to her friend at the time. So
Well, I mean, that should like probably lower your credence in all of this because, I mean, for example, I'm like doubtful of a lot of the things that I think happened to me at 4. Like I'm just very skeptical that I have like genuine memories. Like I think I probably have like a lot of like false memories from that time.
Okay. To me, not really personally, because of just how, I guess you could say, scarring it was. I don't know, it kind of imprinted on me. Like one time my mom was drunk and I was brushing my teeth on a trash can. She smacked the back of my head, knocked my tooth out. My tooth has been gone ever since. So,
Well, but
you know,
that's, you
when
know,
I was 6, you know, so.
that doesn't, I mean, it's like demonic that your mom did that to you, but that's not like supernatural.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah. But we was just talking about, you know, what
Yeah.
happened to me and why I can think that I understand what I remember, you know.
Yeah. Well, I just think that we should be like more skeptical about these memories, like early memories. You know, I'm sure that you have like some real memories, but at the same time, I mean, some of like the things that I remember as being like earliest memories or things like that, I think that I must have like egregiously misunderstood the situation.
Okay, I could see your point for sure. But yeah, that's my personal reason. But I guess you could say, you know, your thing says God isn't real. Do you have any like other points?
Sure. Do you think God has the power to do evil?
I think God has the power to do evil in our eyes, but for his goal and his mission, like for a kid, if you take the tablet away, they're gonna be like, "That's bad." But you know, for a parent standpoint, you're like, "You need to do something else."
Yeah,
So,
but does he have
I
does
give
he have the
that to
power to
God.
do anything that's like genuinely evil? Like, I don't know, could God torture like infinite babies for fun? Does he have the power to do that? Or does he have the power to torture like one baby for fun?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean,
We could
if
explore both
so,
possibilities, right? You know, either he does
okay,
or he
yeah, sure.
doesn't. You know, if he does, well, then that means that it would be possible for him to do that. But then it's not possible for him to do that if he's all good. And then the alternative is that God's not all powerful if he doesn't have that power, because there are humans who torture babies for fun. So God would be less powerful than these humans with this regard.
Well, okay, so I could see you say good as in what you understand to be good, right? Like, you know, you
Just
grew up, your
what
experience.
I'm speaking of, like good, like whatever the true good things are, like the true evil things are.
Do you know what that is though? Like,
Presumably, we'd want to say like torturing babies for fun is evil.
well, for sure. I mean, you could say torturing the babies for fun is evil in the sense that, you know, we took care of them, we put all of our time in them, and you know, if like you don't believe in God, but obviously we have a short life, so it would be evil for God to do that, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So, I mean, either God has the power to do that or he doesn't. If he doesn't have the power, then he's not all powerful. And if he does have the power, then it would be possible for God to do that. But it's not possible for an all good God to torture babies for fun. So it would be a contradiction.
so you're talking about like a paradox type thing.
Not really. It's just a contradiction. A paradox is like self referential. This isn't self referential. This is just a contradiction.
Okay. So God's all powerful. He has the power to torture the babies, but that wouldn't make them all good in our eyes.
Well, you couldn't
Basically.
be all good if it's possible for God to torture babies, because it's not possible for a good being to torture babies.
Right. In our eyes.
Well, just at all,
From
right?
our like so I guess you could say dolphins torture the pufferfish for fun and stuff like that, like, but do we see that as bad? You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know if
Like
I'd say that they're
we're kind of
moral
outside.
agents. If it turns out that dolphins They might be. Like dolphins are definitely very intelligent, so maybe they are moral agents. And if they are, then yeah, that's bad. Animal abuse is bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to step into like, you know, if God created everything, he could pretty much do what he wants, and no matter what, technically for his good, it'd be good for him because
To
you know
torture
that's how his
babies.
shows. Well, I'm not saying he does do that. But I'm saying if that's something he did do, it would be for his good. And just because no, I'm serious. No, think about it.
I'm not sure
Because
that's the
if
sort of thing that could be good. You know, it's like a horrific action done for an end that just doesn't outweigh. You know, torturing babies for the sake of like fun or enjoyment is
I
bad.
get what you're saying. For me, you grew up and you figure out what is good and what is bad by, you know, people telling you or living it out,
Mhm.
right?
Well,
So
I mean, luckily, you know, one thing that everyone should agree on, no matter what moral system you hold to, is that torturing babies for fun is bad. You know, you shouldn't do that.
right, right. Because we grew up where we give birth, you know, stuff like that. So obviously that's not good.
Hmm.
But I'm saying if we didn't grow up like that, if that was all there ever was, because God created us for this purpose. So obviously that's not what he wants. But I'm saying if that's all he did, how could we say what is good or what is bad? Because there
Yeah,
wouldn't
because it
be.
would be like a bunch of horrific suffering that produces no greater good. So that would be bad. You know, it fails under like every moral system. You know, it fails under a moral system that evaluates right and wrong based on the action itself, like a rights-based system. You know, these babies have a right to not get tortured, so it fails under that system. You know, it fails under like a virtue ethics where what goodness is like you have like good character traits, because you know somebody with good character traits wouldn't torture babies for fun. That's not the end that they act towards. And you know, like
Exactly.
the utilitarian wouldn't be torturing babies for fun. It just produces like a bunch of disutilities. So it seems like every
Exa-
system that you could possibly approach it from would give the same prescription that it's bad. You know, shouldn't do that.
So you made my point. So basically, there
So
has to
we
be
agree that
somebody
it's bad.
outside of. No, there has to be somebody that's in the good position to show you that it's bad. Like you're telling me about all these
Oh,
systems,
why?
but at these, well, because how would you know something's bad if there was never anything that was good? You told me there's these systems that show you that it's not good.
There are
So
good things
if you grew up
too.
without, well, I'm
Like
just
all
saying,
these
if you
systems
grew
are going
up
to say that
without it,
there are good things as well.
but there's also relativist in the world. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
I think those
you
people
could
are
say,
wrong. I think that they're
I know, me
incorrect.
too, but
Are you
I'm just
sure?
saying, if you grow up, yeah, if you grow up without knowing anything else but the thing that you do, then how would you know that there's something better?
I think you might be a bit confused about like relativism. The dispute that's present within like relativism and absolutism is whether or not there is like some sort of objective ought claims that we all ought adhere to. Um, you know, people can just be wrong. People can think that one thing is moral and then they're just wrong about that because their worldview is like contradictory or something like that.
Okay.
But I mean,
Yeah, maybe I was
you'd
confused
sound
then.
like you
Okay.
probably would be a relativist. You can't even say that it's bad to torture babies for fun in like an absolute sense.
Well, I'm going with your kind of line of questioning. You know what I mean? But because you're saying, you know, God contradicts himself if he says he's all powerful and all good, but we were placing good as what we think as good is because of how we've, you know, grown up and I guess figured out how the world is supposed to work, how we would like it to work.
I don't grant that. I mean, I grew up eating meat and then I became convinced about like veganism through like ethical arguments. You know, these arguments, the conclusion isn't intuitive. We're socialized to reject the conclusion our entire lives. I just don't think that that's true. I think that through rational reflection, on ethical principles, you can arrive at principles that are objectively true. I don't think that you're just going to take whatever. I think it might be true for a lot of people, but I don't think it's strictly true that you just take the ethics that your parents have or that your society has.
Okay. Well, I don't really have, I guess, an answer exactly for what you're asking then.
Okay. Well,
I'm not
hey,
sure.
thanks so much. Do you have anything else?
No, I guess that's about it. I mean, it was kind of cool talking to you. So.
Yeah. Hey, it was kind of cool talking to you as well. Sean, thank you so much for the $5 Venmo. Appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you sending it through Venmo because I get to keep 100% of Venmo. You know, TikTok takes 50% of all the gifts that get sent through it. You know, YouTube takes like 30%. But Cash App and Venmo, that's 100%. I get all of that. So I really appreciate that, Sean. Thank you so much. Let's get a big W for Sean. Silver Cloud, thank you so much for the super chat. Love your stream. I don't think the guy from before will come back with any credible video. I mean, I think if there was a credible video, it would just be on all the YouTube shorts. Like, that's one of the things that I did as I like scrolled over the YouTube shorts. I think that they would be displaying this all the time constantly if they had video of a miracle. Oh, sorry, I didn't click that one. I'm stupid. Kane Malice, thank you so much for the super chat. If evolution is real, why do USB plugs still take 3 tries? How does it feel to lose? You lost. Based, yeah. Why USB is not perfect? I'm the Big Cheese. Thanks so much for the super chat. Funny how there are literally no demons or demonic possessions in the entire Old Testament. Suddenly Jesus comes and demons are literally everywhere. Yeah, he brought like a fucking plague of them. Hey, how's it
Hello?
going?
Yeah, it's going good. How are you doing?
Doing well. How old are you?
I'm 22.
Yep. And what religion?
I'm Jewish.
Yep. What makes you think that God exists?
I would say my experiences of spirituality, of connection to
Okay.
God.
When you say, well, I guess like, how do you know that what you're feeling is God?
I would say that there is no other explanation that I found that makes sense.
Okay. Sure. I guess what's the experience and why do you think that there couldn't be some explanation other than God?
So, for example, the first thing I would say is that it's not like individual experiences. So there are individual experiences, and I'm happy to give them as examples. But my overall experience throughout my life is that through consistent practice and meditation, I can, in the tradition, within my tradition, it describes exactly how you do this, and you can put yourself into a state of consciousness which consistently creates these experiences of connection to God.
But why think that what you're experiencing is God? I was like a very consistent meditator for a very long time. I have like some idea. Maybe I have some idea what you're talking about, but
So what meditation did you do?
I did what is it, like Vipassana, where you
Right.
focus on your breath?
Yeah. So this is so Vipassana is like a very much like a body braced, very, I would say, incomplete system. So one of the things that I would say is you need sort of the same sort of thing as you have with any other form of exercise where you have sort of progressive overload.
Mhm.
And Vipassana doesn't really have that. It's just the same technique expanded over longer and longer times. So if you look at advanced systems within,
I don't know if that's true. For example, you can do like longer and longer meditation sessions.
that's true, but you're not really changing the content, right?
Why would you need to? I mean,
Well, because
also
it-
there was I mean there was for portions of this, I would fill out like pre-meditation surveys and then post-meditation surveys that are meant to help you like I don't know, think deeply about it.
Mhm. So, I can tell you a bit about the system of meditation that I grew up in.
Well,
Um,
what I'm more interested in is like,
well, I can tell you about my experiences and
yeah,
why I think that
yeah,
they were
I just have
God.
no idea. Like, what about the experience makes you think that it couldn't be explained by anything other than God?
So, it was the fundamental change in my phenomenology, in the experience of you know how there's a normal sense of who you are and what your sense of self is,
Mhm.
and where that lives, and that basically normally lives roughly, this is an approximation, but roughly behind your eyes.
Yeah.
So my experience of that was that essentially I didn't feel like my sense of self was located there. It felt like it started to expand.
Mhm.
And I felt in connection with the universe,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep. This is are you
And
familiar with Meta? METTA?
yeah, I'm familiar with Meta.
It sounds kind of like that.
So it's similar to that. And then the next thing that I would add is I felt, and again, this will sound crazy and to people, but my experience was that I heard a voice that
Said
answered
what?
the phone. Essentially, I had 3 questions, and I could only remember one of them to this day. But the question that I asked was, essentially, why is there suffering? Like, if you have all of this, like, why would you make all this bad stuff? And the answer I got was because there was no other way
Other way for what?
for reality to be.
Why not?
I think it's just impossible.
Why?
I think that suffering is that what suffering is fundamentally is the separateness from God.
But why? I mean, why is it not possible for there to be like, certainly if you think God exists, then you think it's possible that God just doesn't create anything.
I agree. I don't know why
So
God
then
created
there
in
is
the first
another
place.
way. So that's just false.
Well, there is. I don't. What I understood there is no other way, meaning as there is no other way to have a separate person, to have someone exist in finitude.
Why?
Because to be finite is to suffer. Is to have limitations means that there's going to be things that you desire that you are unable to achieve, which is going to be painful.
Okay, so if that were true, then the suffering that we would expect to see is that we would expect to see the suffering ultimately having like some link back to you, to your
Not
desires.
necessarily.
But I mean, that wouldn't explain why God lets people get like raped to death. We could suffer, we could have some level of suffering without that level of suffering.
I don't think so.
Oh, why not? Couldn't God have given us like anatomy such that rape is impossible?
So I don't think so. No, actually, because if you think about why rape is so fundamentally disturbing, it's because it's the violation of the sexual act and of bodily autonomy, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And if we are going to be separate and we're going to have this process where individuals can connect to other people and to reproduce with them, then that requires that there be this separateness in which one person can connect to another. And if I struggle to imagine, maybe it's just a limitation of my creativity, how you could have a process like that that wouldn't be able to be subverted within the structures of having a scientifically comprehensible reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, if you look to other animal species, they have like anti-rape mechanisms. So, for example, the female duck has a corkscrew vagina that makes it harder to rape them.
Corkscrew penis.
Yeah,
the
exactly
male
right.
ducks
Like,
have.
but it's certainly a more difficult act to do. But I mean, God could have designed us in such a way that we have like consent pheromones, where just by being an active participant in this, you release your consent pheromones. If your consent pheromones get released, then they allow your partner's parts to work. If your partner releases theirs, they allow your parts to work, and then from that you would need both parties consenting to this in order for the parts to work. So I don't know, they're like just mechanisms that could work.
And you think that that in such a reality there wouldn't be any possibility for that level of violation?
It would at least be substantially harder and substantially rarer.
Well, again, once you start thinking about these alternate possible worlds, it becomes a question of, do you think you can do the calculus and say this type of world would overall be better than the current type of world? Because
So-
one of the things that you could say in response to exactly your point is that essentially, again, I have to think about exactly how to put this, but one of the things that is important within relationships, right, is the capacity for them to go wrong. If you think about the difference between prostitution and a date, right, there's not a genuineness in the prostitution that there is in the date. It's not real because there's no possibility of it going another way.
That's sure. That sounds like, I'm sure that there are people who would add like caveats and nuance to that, but that sounds like, sure, okay. What then?
So I would say that once you recognize that there are mechanisms of that category, the calculus of which world would be objectively better becomes much, much more complicated.
Well, it's just a question of whether or not the rape world is better than the non-rape world.
So the world you're happy to say that you know with some amount of certainty that the world in which humans have these pheromones, that essentially, let's say a non-consenting person makes everyone around them impotent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
That world is manifestly better than our world.
I think we have really good reason to think so. I mean, rape is just horrific. It's like one of the most horrific things that can happen to you or be done to you, and it's so common. It's like like a ton of suffering, and it's a ton of suffering that in the world that I'm describing, like there would need to be some greater good that comes about from all of it that somehow like outweighs all of this, and also outweighs the fact that you'd be like using people.
I'm not saying that there necessarily has to be a greater good. I'm saying that from my understanding, for whatever reason, there was God's again, there's a whole within Jewish theology, there's a whole process through which God moves from infinite being to finite reality. And what happens in that process is there's different stages, and in those stages, essentially the emanation that exists then. It's a bit like Neoplatonism. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially the different emanations have different capacities, and from a philosophical point of view, I think that one of the things that happens is that the lower emanations don't have the same level of free will and omnipotence as the others.
But that makes the problem worse, not better. Because
and so I'm happy to say that I don't have the capacity to understand the highest reason as to why God decided that finitude was better than that something was better than nothing. That doesn't undermine my belief in God.
Sure, but it's a question of when there are like possible worlds, it's just a question of like how likely would it be for this world to be better than that world. Do you think that we live in the best possible world?
No.
Okay. That's surprising if God is all good, that God wouldn't create the best possible world.
I don't accept that God is all good. It's not a Jewish idea.
Okay, then why would God create it all?
I don't know. The idea from my the best I've got is that there was something in the relationship between a finite person and the infinite that was for some reason desirable.
So here's the problem with getting rid of all good is that let's say we're trying to like predict like what will the world look like. The only piece of information we have is that God is all powerful. Well, there's going to be like some state of affairs. That's all we can predict because it could be any of them. If God's all powerful, he can make any of them, and we have no reason to think that he'll make any of them over like any of the other ones. And that's why people
I'm kind of convinced that the notion of like God as triomni, right, is despite the fact that a large collection of modern Jews talk about it, is not an inherently Jewish concept. I'm not quite, I've never quite wrapped my head around what all powerful would even mean. People seem to go back and forth between whether they want God to be able to do every possible thing and also create impossible worlds. I've just never been able to wrap my head around what that means.
Well, I mean, I agree with you that if you take like a good, honest read of like the Torah and like the subsequent books, that what you'll come away with is the impression that God is like kind of a prick, like he's just some dude. He's like a bit of an asshole.
I would disagree with that.
There are just like a lot of like horrific verses.
Okay, give me some examples.
We could start with like the slavery verses. That's pretty bad. Shouldn't do that probably.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's kind of strange, right? Like I think that if God were like halfway decent and he was like wise in the way that people want to claim that he is, I think that post Exodus, it's just this beautiful opportunity to say, now you know what it's like to live under oppression. Now you know how bad it is. You know how much it sucks.
I'm not
you know how
convinced that you
dehumanizing
could have
it
a
is.
functional society in the Bronze Age without slavery.
God's all powerful. Of course you can. God could provide like any resource.
I'm saying if we take that position, right, that generally the naturalistic world is how it is, and that the society that God is trying to build is going to be one within the naturalistic worlds, then to say that that we're going to have a Bronze Age society which is somewhat functional that doesn't have any slavery, I just don't think is likely. I also don't see any historical evidence of that, right?
But if God has the power to provide them, so the question then becomes, well, why is slavery necessary? If it's necessary for like defensive reasons, like if you don't enslave them, they're going to attack you. Well, God could easily solve this problem. He could create like a wall. He could teleport them to the other side of the world. Like he could do so many things to protect them. If it's for economic reasons, well, God could provide all of these like economic resources. No slavery required.
If you take the position that God wants the world to operate in almost all circumstances according to natural laws, right?
Why would God want that?
Because if that wasn't the case, then reality would be incomprehensible.
I'm not sure that that's true. I mean, for example,
if things just happened randomly with no reliable explanation of why, we wouldn't be able to do any science. We wouldn't be able to do anything. If it was just like when you dropped a ball, it fell, it wasn't even a predictable number of times. Like it wasn't like there was this clear probability of it. It was just entirely random. Like sometimes you drop it and it would fall 100% of the time. Like, and if that went all the way through physics, that like everything was just entirely like, I don't think that even if somehow we could exist in that world, that would be a world that we could live in and effectively start to predict different things.
Yeah, here's the problem, which is that at that time, before there's any knowledge of things like DNA, any knowledge of genetics, God can simply will that like the Israelite crops are successful, that their harvest is bountiful, that there isn't rot, and that there isn't, he can work all of his miracles in ways that they just don't see or just don't understand because they don't have access to that fine-grained of a level yet. I mean, additionally, you know, there is something to be said about the fact that when we get down to the microscopic level, the quantum level, I mean, it is indeterminacy. You know, things
There's
collapse
debatable.
in specific, like to specific superpositions,
It's
and
there's no clear evidence whether or not that's indeterministic in a meta sense.
well, it is indeterministic, and the way that you could determine that is the fact that the wave function describes probability distributions. So, or it describes amplitude distributions, which, if you square those, are probability distributions.
Yeah. So the fact that the wave function describes, I mean, this isn't necessarily the point, but it's interesting. The fact that that there is a probability function for something does not mean that there isn't a deterministic explanation on a deeper level.
So
I'm just saying, like, it's not particularly relevant to my position, but
yeah, that's fine. I mean, we could, if you don't want to get like too sucked into like the quantum mechanics, we don't have to. But this kind of is like, people misunderstand the double slit experiment all the time, but this kind of is like, this is like the actual lesson of the double slit experiment, is that this isn't just like a lack of knowledge. This is the way that reality is. Reality is wave-like. It is probabilistic.
So the double slit experiment indicates that electrons display wave behavior, right? And that
unless
they
interacted
sometimes-
with, and then they
and
display particle.
unless the information is retrievable, right? So if
we might be saying the same thing.
well, it depends. So it's just as people get confused because the definition of an observer in quantum mechanics is that you can retrieve the information, not necessarily that there's a conscious agent that looked at it.
Yeah, I understand an observer to just be like a thing that interacts with it.
So from my understanding, it's that the information is you can get the information back out of the system.
That might be, we might be saying equivalent things. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not
but yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, I agree, but I agree that it's not about like minds or whatever. But
the electrons display wave behavior, and that wave collapses on observation, and that collapse is according to a probability density function, doesn't indicate that reality isn't deterministic.
So here's the puzzle that then arises for the person who wants to say that it's like an epistemic gap as opposed to an ontological one. Is, okay, if it's just epistemic, then why do these interference patterns hold when it's wave-like, but not when it's particle-like?
I'm not, so I don't need to say it's epistemic. First of all, there's other interpretations, right? You can make the case that there is, I can't remember the details, but I
the only other
Ball's
deterministic one, we could look.
Let me get my laptop.
Oh, the Copenhagen interpretation?
No, not the Copenhagen interpretation. The Copenhagen interpretation is basically just
the
equations mean what they mean. Ball's interpretation.
You might be thinking of the Bohmian interpretation. The Bohmian interpretation is the deterministic, like it's like the epistemic gap one.
Just give me 1 second.
I guess while we're waiting for that, I'll explain to the audience. I'll fill the audience in. So, there's like the question in quantum mechanics of like, okay, it's random, but is it, we just don't know something, like it's actually not random at like some deeper level if you have all the pieces. And what the wave function, what the double slit experiment demonstrates is that no, it is wave-like fundamentally, and then it only becomes particle-like when interacted with, which means that, I mean, if it was just like, if it was deterministic, but we just didn't know some like deeper level, then we wouldn't expect interference patterns. We would only expect like the post-interaction patterns to be present.
So, right. So from what I can see, right, is essentially from what I remember, the reason why essentially there's a couple of properties that you can't have simultaneously, and one of them is locality, so that essentially information isn't communicated faster than the speed of light.
Who the fuck is this? I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like the momentum, the inequality, somebody's inequality.
Is it
Somebody,
Minkowski?
I think somebody in chat will get it, but maybe it's not the inequality at all. But
there's also still the
oh yeah,
superdeterministic
it's Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. That's exactly what it is.
Could you explain?
Yeah.
My understanding is that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is about the measuring, when you try and measure the position and momentum, you can't do the same thing with
Oh,
the
are you talking
same
about something
momentum.
different? I might have totally misunderstood you if you're talking about something different.
Well, so I was talking about the essentially, because so what happens in the double slit experiment is essentially that the electrons, in order to form this interference pattern, you need to have that essentially the collection of electrons in inverted commas that are acting as waves are communicating faster than the speed of light. And a lot of people don't want to say, because that means, because that allows them to form this pattern where some of them hit the fluorescent screen at one place and some of them hit it another place.
I don't think that's quite accurate. I think that what's being explicitly denied is that it's like faster than the speed of light. Like it's there isn't like a communication that takes place is the problem, is that it's not like it's
the reason why we think that there can't be a communication that takes place is because it would have to be faster than the speed of light.
That sounds right. I think that's yeah.
But from my understanding, this interpretation, the Bohmian interpretation says that if you give up the idea that they're in this specific way that these particles can communicate faster than the speed of light, then, but you say that information can't, because so the reason why we don't want anything to go faster than the speed of light is because of relativity, right?
Yeah.
And so that's only is only a problem if it's actually like information that can be got out of the system. So
wait, like the faster than the speed of light stuff is only a problem if
because so if you have you seen like when you draw the trapeziums to in special relativity?
Is that like the light cone, or is this something else?
Yeah, the light cone.
Yeah.
The Minkowski transforms.
Yeah.
And so what happens is essentially as you change, as the observer changes, essentially as the observer changes, you get that you have the eigenvectors of the of space-time, which forms this light cone. Right, and essentially all of the transforms can push them closer, but it can never push them past that.
Yeah.
Mathematically. And what happens is the electrons, and so that only happens if you have a thing that is traveling through space-time that has momentum.
Sure. That's an interesting question. Well, although because like electrons, do electrons have momentum? I think they do.
Electrons do have momentum. Electrons have mass.
Yeah. So okay, but yeah, because then if electrons have momentum, then it doesn't seem like that's much help to you.
So it's helpful because essentially the reason you can't get the information out is because you'd have to faster than the speed of light is because you'd essentially have to get from one electron to the other one, which would require you going faster than the speed of light yourself.
Sure. So you're saying, so the Bohm interpretation is basically saying that things can move faster than the speed of light?
Is the information can be communicated faster than the speed of light.
the information can be.
Yeah, which is how they form these interference patterns.
That definitely seems problematic for relativity. It seems like relativity would give us good reason to reject that.
What would that be?
Yeah, just that, you know, from each inertial reference frame, there is nothing that is faster than the speed of light. That things can't travel quicker than that.
There's so you have in the light cone you split space into 3 parts, right? And you have the vectors that are time-like separated, space-like separated,
Yep.
and light-like separated.
Yep.
You can have space-like separated things, right, which are actually far away that are not in the same location, that are traveling faster than the speed of light relative to an observer. But you just couldn't become aware of them, because in order to become aware of them, they would have to be within your light cone.
Oh, is this what the fuck are those things called? What are the? It's like the things that travel. It's like the theoretical matter that is like faster than the speed of light. It's like the reverse matter. Tachyons. Yeah, tachyons.
Tachyons. Yeah, I don't know. I thought those were science fiction, but
yeah. Well, that's basically what Dr. Blitz said, is that it's like bullshit, or it's
Yeah.
that it's that we have no evidence for that.
But on a theoretical level, right? If we're returning to philosophically,
Mhm.
I think that there is still space within quantum mechanics for a deterministic position. That's what I'm saying.
There might be, although the standard interpretations are going to reject this.
Well, the Bowman interpretation is one of the main ones.
Is one of the what?
Is one of the main ones.
We could look up like the distribution of who holds to these interpretations, or like what
That would be
percent
interesting.
of physicists hold to each interpretation.
Then again, from my experience of talking to maths professors about the philosophy of maths, you tend to get bad philosophy from the people in the departments. So I don't know how convincing that would be.
That could be true. Okay. So your interpretation would be the Bohm interpretation, or what would it be?
The Bowman. Well, I'm not committed. Right, I'm not a physicist. But I would say that.
Oh yeah,
it's
sure.
an open possibility, right?
Sure. Although, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how they would resolve those issues. It certainly seems like a big posit. I'm quite convinced by many worlds. I think that it's just way more parsimonious than like all the other interpretations.
You think many worlds is more parsimonious?
Way more parsimonious. Otherwise, you have to posit like additional things. Like many worlds just says
infinitely many worlds.
So the worlds are already there within the math itself. You have to posit additional things to get rid of them. Like the other interpretations have to posit more
But if
things.
we're talking about parsimony, then we're talking about the objects that you are metaphysically committed to.
So yeah, because you're also committed to the wave function, and you're committed to like a Schrodinger equation that evolves
that assumes that I'm a realist about the equations.
But just that they like reflect some part of reality accurately.
Yeah, but that says that they describe the functioning of an electron. Not
Yeah,
that-
exactly. So you do think that they're like a true abstraction of something.
Yeah,
And I
but
mean, you would
that
agree
doesn't
that
add
these
extra
systems
things
can be like
to the
entangled,
committed.
right? Like, could the
Yeah.
universe be like a big entangled quantum system?
I am not educated enough to answer that.
Okay. I mean, it seems like there would be, well, if something interacts with the quantum system, then it becomes like a part of that quantum system, you know, becomes
Well,
entangled. And everything is interacted
Kind of,
with
but
everything.
the
so-
scale kills these rather quickly. Like
What do you
technically
mean?
there is a wave function of a tennis ball, but it's just that it's so small that for all intents and purposes it's irrelevant.
That seems like it could be true. I'm not sure what your point is, though.
My point is that in terms of the quantum systems, like just because these quantum systems exist doesn't mean that like if you compare quantum mechanics to mechanics, it doesn't mean that it necessarily everything is entangled in a quantum system just because these systems exist, because that just becomes so small that for all intents and purposes, we would say that the example I was thinking about was the
Oh, I
De Broglie
see.
wavelength.
So here's why you'd want to say that everything is entangled is because everything is interacted with each other. Like, I don't know, think about it like this. Like, let's say that you have for any macroscopic object, like a water bottle, this
Yeah.
is getting like an unbelievable number of particle interactions every like microsecond. There's like more atoms than could be comprehended interacting with that water bottle every like fraction of a second. It's
neutrino too.
yeah. So everything that interacts with the quantum system then becomes entangled with it. You know, their measurement outcomes depend on each other. And
But like when we do the measurements, like unless you're like, I mean, it goes into a more general thing, but like there is technically a wave property according to the maths of the water bottle, but that the differences that would make would be like times 10 to the minus 31 or something stupid. And
yeah,
so like that's probably beyond our ability to possibly detect.
yeah, I mean, I agree
on
with
the level
that.
of the water bottle.
No,
Which
no,
means
that's
that, like, I don't know if philosophically it's meaningful to say that the water bottle is entangled in a quantum system.
Oh, wait, it definitely is though, because it interacts with all these quantum systems.
Not on the level of measurement for human beings.
Well, okay, so think about it like this. Let's say that you're like let's say you're like a particle physicist and you're about to reveal whether or not this electron is spin up or spin down. Well, you know, you then become in superposition with it. You're now in superposition. There's one of you in superposition where you see spin up, and there's another of you in the superposition where you see spin down. The worlds are just there within the math itself.
Well, the wave function tells you that there's a probability of this and there's a probability of that, but that doesn't mean that you are actually in that superposition. That depends on your interpretation of the mathematics.
Where does the superposition go?
Well, I think the superposition is the best equation we have to calculate, is possibly the best equation we have to calculate a deterministic system. If you give the example of particle dynamics, right? Like we can technically do a deterministic simulation of like, a liter of helium of exactly where each particle would go. But we have a probability distribution that is just way more practical, right?
So, okay, there's one thing that you said that maybe you just misspoke, but you said like the superposition is like the equation that's most reliable.
No, so the superposition, so the wave function, the probabilities that the wave function predict. That's what
You're saying that those, well, yeah, I agree that those are reliable, but let's say that we have like entangled particles, you know, we've entangled like their upspin and their downspin. So if one is spin up, then the other will spin down. If the other is spin up, then the first will be spin down. Let's say that we measure it, it's spin up and spin down. Where'd the other superposition go? What happened to it?
Deterministic, it was never the case. It was never like when you flip a coin, what happened to the world in which the coin was heads?
I'm not sure that I'd say that there was a world. Like that's
right.
So the reason why it's
but in the same way, if it's deterministic, then there never was a world.
Then you lose the ability
in which it was actually in which it was actually spin up, right?
Well, sure. Then help me make sense of how interacting with particles in like the double slit experiment, how if there is no waves, then where did the interference patterns come from?
Oh, there are waves.
What?
The collapse of the waves can be deterministic.
Okay, so then you agree that it is wave-like until you interact with it.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So then what determines the collapse?
I don't know. I'm saying that it's open in the math that there could be a theory that explains that.
Exactly. And this is why it's less parsimonious, is that the many worlds interpretation accepts the math as it is. It says that
Okay, so
both of
that's a
those
different
superpositions
understanding
are
of the
real.
philosophical virtue. Because it's simpler, I would say. I don't know if it's less parsimonious. Like Lewis's Many Worlds is simpler. It's not parsimonious. Not Many Worlds. His mode of realism is simpler. It's not parsimonious.
I think Lewis would contest that is the
Really?
problem. Like, for example, I think Lewis does contest that. He says that it depends how you're counting parsimony. That
Right. So
if you're
that's
counting
what I'm saying. I
parsimony
think
by
there's
like type or by like number of things. But if we're counting parsimony by number of things, then like the most parsimonious theory is going to be that I'm like a brain in a vat.
right. Well,
And that
which
that's
is
all
why I
of
think that
reality.
parsimony isn't the only virtue.
Yeah. But
I think you
that
can
one would
say
have
that
like a huge parsimony advantage.
It would, but I think that parsimony only applies to like I think that the intellectual virtues that we have are, first of all, a not particularly good system for determining the values of a philosophical system until they've been established.
What?
Until they've been established as a reasonable theory.
What? Wait, you don't think that things like parsimony or I don't know, like explanatory
I think that
range is
I
useful
think things
for
like that come in at a later stage.
I don't know what that means.
So, as in, if you think about the process of proposing a worldview,
Yeah.
right, you have to demonstrate first that it's not inconsistent. I don't think that's.
I mean, certainly it can't be inconsistent, but I don't know. I'm not sure who's going around demonstrating that their worldview is not inconsistent.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. Well, I would say if you can demonstrate that a worldview is inconsistent, it shouldn't matter how parsimonious it is.
If you can oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
And so to me, that means that in terms of the process of determining which philosophical theory we're going to believe in, that there's a process of initially determining certain things, such as consistency, and then the
Wait,
virtues
what?
come later.
This isn't. Can you give me like an example of somebody who's demonstrated their worldview to be consistent? This is like just not true, right?
Well, I mean, I can think of mathematical examples. I don't know if that's helpful.
But in terms of like philosophical examples, like who has
Well, I
demonstrated
think
their
that-
worldview to be consistent?
I'm not saying that people are demonstrating that their worldview is consistent. I'm saying that there's a contextual understanding that consistency comes before parsimony in terms of virtues.
In terms of like which one's going to take precedent, like I agree if
Yes.
a view is inconsistent, then it's fucked, right? It doesn't matter if it's parsimonious, if it's like contradictory.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's totally fine. But
and
when you say
I
like
also-
prior, do you mean like temporally prior or?
No, I mean like epistemically prior. Not epistemically. Like it has more. If you think about a process like as an argument, I don't know what the verb would be, but like if I was making an argument, right, and I had some set of axioms, and then there was a process of convincing someone that, or making the case that my position was correct, I think that no matter, like there's a like layers, that no matter what you did at the intellectual virtue layer, so you could have a super explanatory powerful theory that was very parsimonious, but if it was inconsistent, I think that would take precedence over all of them. I don't know exactly what the terms would be.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would certainly be like a defeater to the worldview.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I agree with that. Although I have no idea where that places us. We've drifted so far from the God topic.
Yeah, we really have.
Do you have so I think we got
So-
here we were talking about the last thing I remember is that we were talking about like biblical slavery.
Yeah.
We were okay, I think that you run into a pretty critical problem, which is that it's utterly unclear what your worldview would predict if your God isn't all good.
Yeah. I think that it is not clear what exactly how the world would be. But then again, I don't think that ascribing things like goodness to the infinite God is a reasonable notion.
I agree with both of those things. I think that's kind of the dilemma for the people who don't hold to the all good God is that, well, I mean, there's like the dilemma. Either you hold to the all good God or you don't. If you hold to the all good God, then you just run directly into like the problem of evil, which is devastating. But then the alternative is that like you don't hold to the all good God, and then it's not even clear what your worldview predicts. Like goodness kind of is like the predictive mechanism. It's what separates.
I'm happy to say that God is good. I'm not happy to say that God is all good.
Sure.
I think there's a difference between those two things.
Sure. So
within Jewish theology, God is said to have essentially both capacities. He has the capacity for good and the capacity for evil, and those both flow out of the Godhead.
Is there one that he's like more inclined to? Otherwise, I think you probably run into the same problem, which is that okay, he's like sometimes good, sometimes bad. I don't know what I would be expecting.
I think that he has the capacity for evil. I don't think that he actualizes that capacity.
Oh, sure. Then your worldview would make predictions, but we would expect all the things to be good. Ooh, but then that runs you right into the problem of evil, because then you're saying that you're committed to saying that all the things that God did in the Bible were good.
I'm not committed to saying that all the things that God did in the Bible were good. I don't believe that.
But you said that he doesn't exercise his capacity for evil. Or would you be maybe like more charitably, you be committed to saying that none of the things in the Bible are bad?
I think that the things that are directly under God's control, that God took direct control over, are not bad.
Yeah, but the slavery laws were bad, and God is the one who gives them.
I still don't concede that.
That God gave them, or that the laws are bad?
That they were bad within context.
Oh no. Those.
I accept that they are horrific, but I'm not convinced that you could have had a better society given the people that existed at that time.
But like, why can't God just? I don't know. Like, what would be the problem with God? We kind of touched on this. I forget where we. Oh, that's how we got on quantum mechanics, because of this exact thing. Okay, sure. Yeah. What would you make of the argument that God could have provided for them the resources they need in a way that is undetectable to them because they didn't have the scientific advancements? Like God could just make it such that their crops are protected against disease and that their crops like bloom twice as quickly. Feed them.
I think that would still be a violation of the laws of nature.
Didn't God come down as a burning bush? Didn't like millions of people see him at Mount Sinai?
I agree. I don't think that's a violation of the laws of nature.
What? You think that that's you think that that was just in line with like conservation of like what were they seeing?
So do you accept that it is scientifically possible for a person to have a vision of God?
Oh, so you would be positing that all of them just like had a mass hallucination, and this mass hallucination is not caused by God?
No, I would say, first of all, I wouldn't concede that it's a hallucination. A hallucination has to be false.
Or like a vision, maybe.
Yeah.
A vision, but is the vision caused by God?
Yeah.
Okay, then God does interact with the causal order.
He does, but he maintains the structures.
Okay, so he does then. So then it seems like God could intervene to provide people with things.
I think he would have to make systemic changes.
Why? Why couldn't he just like deliver like wheat or barley or metal every now and then? The same place where I don't know, like the brain signals that produced like the visions came from, presumably out of nowhere.
Well, they wouldn't have had to have come out of nowhere.
You're probably going to find yourself committed to that because otherwise God would be violating either conservation of energy or conservation of momentum.
So if you had there are, from my understanding, there are like you see situations where you have groups of people that have a collective spiritual experience, right? That they might not. I'm not saying. First of all, I'm not even sure if I believe in supernatural occurrences. In a
What you believe in God?
I do believe in God.
You're the meditation guy. What the fuck you talk? Of course you do.
I no. I haven't seen any.
I thought you said that you had you've experienced like a relationship with God.
Yeah, I don't think that's supernatural. I think that's explainable within neuroscience.
Miles, shouldn't your name be like kilometers? Like this is absurd. What do you mean? Okay, so you just think
What
that
do you
this
mean?
is like
We have
totally natural?
You can put monks in an MRI machine, and you can see the natural processes of happening while they have spiritual experiences.
Mhm. Oh,
You
I
can
agree with
see
that. Yeah.
You can see the deactivation of the default mode network, and I can't remember the rest of the details. And that reliably scientifically predicts the experience that they had.
Mhm.
And they have this experience, and that's entirely scientifically explicable. It doesn't
Yeah.
violate the laws of nature.
Yeah, that leads to suboptimal conclusions, I think you'll find.
Okay.
So here's the first thing that you have to contend with, which is that the regions of the brain that light up during spiritual experiences are the same regions of the brain that light up during like auditory hallucinations. That in fact, like people who have damage to these regions of their brain, like people who have like temporal lobe epilepsy, one of the side effects is hyper-religiosity because they have like spiritual experiences. Like you probably have really good reason to not trust a spiritual experience that comes from there.
So would you say that if you consistently had spiritual experiences, that you would disregard them and assume that you were, like, if it's you went to got a brain scan, you're perfectly healthy, you were having a regular functional life, able to work, able to have a healthy relationships, but you had this regular connection, that your understanding of it was that the only epistemic possibility that I take as reasonable is that this was God.
So are you familiar with the idea of like a debunking argument? Like, for example, the debunking argument or like the evolutionary debunking arguments against like moral intuitions?
No, I'm not.
So a debunking argument is a type of argument that basically establishes that some belief or some like mental state that you hold, or like some doxastic attitude, like an intuition or something like that, an experience perhaps, is caused by this thing, and that this thing does not stand in a causal relation to what it would need to for your experience or your knowledge or your belief or your intuition to map onto the facts. So I'll give you like
an example.
Yeah, I would love to. So the most common debunking argument is something called the evolutionary debunking argument. Our moral intuitions evolved for survival and reproduction. We intuit certain things as being moral, and we intuit certain things as being immoral. But survival and reproduction does not stand in any sort of appropriate relation to like the moral facts. We should not trust our moral intuitions.
Right.
And I think similarly, we shouldn't be trusting experiences where.
Do you not trust your moral intuitions?
I think that you should find rational reasons. I don't know. I'm like a moral rationalist. I think that if logic disagrees with your moral intuitions, that you should discard your moral intuitions.
I agree, but you still need to have some intuitions to get anywhere. Otherwise, you run into it all, right?
I don't think that's true. So, for example, I think like I take like a broadly like Kantian approach where I think that you can like just like deduce certain moral principles. Like you can just like deduce like
From
categorical imperatives.
okay. You think from what? What
Yeah,
can you?
I'll give you an example. So I'm an agent. What that means is that I take actions to achieve goals.
Mhm.
But in order to take any action at all, I would need my freedom and well-being. So I'm committed to saying that I have a reason to have my freedom and well-being, which is to say that I ought have it. If I ought have it, others ought not interfere with it, which means I'm saying I have a
So there's
right to it just on the basis of my agency. So, but if me being an agent is sufficient for me to have that, then all agents must have a right to freedom and well-being. Therefore, everyone has a right to freedom and well-being.
so you went from I have a reason to wanting that to you ought to have that.
Yeah, that's what an ought is. An ought is saying that you have a reason to have this thing, like that some
Well,
total
so
reasons
you
favor
as in
this
so
thing.
from my understanding, an ought is objective, right? In the sense that we're talking about.
Not in the sense in terms of like objective ethics, then yeah, it would need to be universal.
Yeah. And so the oughts, the type of oughts that you're talking about are objective things.
Mhm,
So
Yep.
I can say that I personally think that I should have, I personally have a reason to want to have independence or
Like
whatever it is,
freedom and well-being, yeah.
freedom and well-being.
Yeah.
Um,
And everybody else
I
is
don't,
committed to making the same claim about themselves.
yeah, but that doesn't get you from that into there is an objective ought that everyone should have this.
Sure it does. Otherwise, you arrive at a contradiction. In order to deem that your agency is sufficient for you to have a right to freedom and well-being, well, then everyone's agency would need to be as well. Otherwise, agency
Well,
isn't sufficient for this right, so it can't be sufficient in you.
so you're saying your belief that agency is sufficient for having freedom and well-being
Yep.
is if that wasn't the case, then if that was the case, then that would have to be applied across the board to everyone.
Yep.
And
To the extent that it's universalizable, yeah.
yeah, and so I think that the problem with that is that requires that your personal, like I could believe that I have a reason to have this without believing that everyone has a reason to have this.
I think that leads to contradictions. So, for example, I think that the contradiction that you end up in is saying that, well, agency is sufficient for this right in me, but not sufficient for this right in other people, but there is nothing that distinguishes you from other people. So,
Well, there is the fact that
what's the property?
The property is that I am as the person who's espousing this, that I'm me.
Yeah. And if you were them, then you would be saying the exact same thing.
Right. But that's a
Yeah.
counterfactual. That's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yes, exactly right. So I agree it's like a counterfactual. I agree it's not the case, but nevertheless, that's not a feature that's able to distinguish you from them. Without absent a feature that distinguishes you from them, in order for you to
Well,
have this
I
right,
think
then they would need to
if
have
you
this right as
believe
well.
that you are you, and that there's a distinctness in your being of a self, then there is something distinct between you and other people.
Well, no, I mean I agree that there's like you're you, but there's nothing that if you were put into their position would make the argument not go through. Like the argument would go through
Do
no
you
matter
think you
whose
could do
position
that?
you're in.
Because you're assuming that you could be anyone else.
I mean, you believe in God, but surely God could like transport your. Well, okay, but you don't think God intervenes. Yeah, I mean, you could. There are like at least epistemically possible situations where your brain is implanted into somebody else's, or where your like memories are implanted into somebody else's.
I'm not convinced that would be me in any meaningful sense.
I don't know.
I
I guess
think that,
like this
like-
gets to like really messy issues related to like identity.
But I would say that again, it's like it's a question of whether we want to go into it. But I would say that there has to be some sort of continuity between the past versions of the self in order for it to distinctly be me.
it would be like just really easy to snipe you on this. And I don't know, you've been so I don't know if it's fair, but there's like trivial counterexamples, right? Like a person in a coma, there isn't like continuity there. But
Well,
you
there
want to
is
say that's the same
there is
person.
metaphysically.
That seems like question begging. Like you're just saying, well, they have the same identity, but that's like the thing in question.
Well,
It's okay, right? Like I think philosophy of identity. I think philosophy of identity is super messy. So I'm not trying to like checkmate you here or whatever.
No, I don't feel like that at all. So I've struggled with philosophy of identity. I mean, I would say that on a practical level that there has to be some sort of causal connection between past versions of you.
That seems probably true. I probably agree with that.
Which wouldn't be the case, like, well, I mean, would you say that would be the case if they transplanted your brain and presumably your whole nervous system into someone else?
Yeah, I think that you could imagine scenarios where, like, let's say you and the other person have orchestrated this.
Well, I think you end up with a ship of Theseus in the other direction, right? Which is like, if it's your brain and because like you need more than your brain, right? Because we know that there's intelligence is distributed, and that if you that there are things that play neurological functions outside of the brain, and so you'd have to transport an awful lot of a person for you to be the same, in the sense of that, like, you would believe all the same things, you would think all the same things.
Maybe like a brain swap. But I mean, again, like this, we got sidetracked again. But sorry, that was just an example of a debunking argument. Is that I think that
Right, yeah.
I think
it goes to the question of objective morality as well, right?
Yeah, but
And of your position that you can have morality without having moral intuitions.
Yeah. I mean, I think that your moral intuitions are extremely unreliable. Your moral intuitions are like extremely self-serving. Yeah. I also think
I think
when
they
it comes
are, but
to
when you go through a process of rigorizing them, and so like, I know, is this right? I think I heard you mention earlier in the stream that you're vegetarian.
yeah, vegan. Yeah.
Vegan, yeah. So I'm not vegan. I don't eat meat though.
Mhm.
And like, I think I had quite a similar journey to you based on what you said. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I grew up eating meat. I was like one of those people who's like, oh, that's ridiculous to not eat meat. And then essentially I just went on a process where I realized that, you know, animals are conscious agents.
Yeah.
Like, and that, you know, if you believe in evolution, it's kind of strange to put a sharp distinction anywhere in that process. Anyway, so I went on that process, and then came to the conclusion that, you know, actually, despite my intuition that it was acceptable to eat animals, my deeper intuition, the intuition that I think is worth preserving, in consistency with the other things that I believe, which is that, you know, you should respect and not cause harm on conscious beings, survived that process of argumentation better than the sort of flippant, oh, I want to have a burger.
Yeah, sure. Are you familiar with John Rawls, like the reflective equilibrium?
No.
So John Rawls does this in terms of like political philosophy, but it probably maps on well to moral philosophy as well. That there's like one view on like moral epistemology where you start with your intuitions and then you try to like principleize it, you try to turn that into principles, and then there are going to be places where it doesn't budge, and at that point you either give up the principle or you give up the intuition. And you should just do that process like repeatedly, where you start with your intuitions and then your intuitions move a little bit, your principles move a little bit, and you keep on tweaking them closer together until you've arrived at intuitions that match the principles.
Yeah, I would add that the lived experience and of the feedback of like, when I act in accordance with these principles, how do I feel about my behavior? should also filter into that.
Maybe, although I'm not entirely sure.
Like, I think if you like lived your life and every day you came home and was like, I'm doing the most immoral, disgusting things I could possibly imagine, and I just truly feel that this is wrong, I think that would be a good reason to reconsider your worldview.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah. No, I'm totally on board with that. I think that, you know, there's, and in fact, like I think the view that's probably the truest is I don't know. I think I'm pretty bought into like a virtue ethics, but it's the full system takes a while to lay out, so I usually run
Yeah.
quicker arguments. But I agree with that, right? Like you're like you should be acting in ways that lead to your flourishing, and that's
Yeah,
gonna
and it
require
needs,
like
I
virtue.
think that individuals have, and again, this goes back to my belief in moral intuitions. I think that they're constantly forms, and that your sense of how you're acting in the world forms intuitions about whether or not I behaved rightly. Oh, hey, I was, rude to this person. That was unacceptable. And that feedback system is part of what informs the process of, figuring out your beliefs. So, for example, in terms of eating animals, the emotional, like the cognitive dissonance that I felt about like loving my pets
Mhm.
and then eating a burger, when like I recognize that cows essentially display a lot of the characteristics of dogs. They have relationships with people, etc., etc. And so I like that emotionally felt disturbed,
Yeah.
and was in like I couldn't, and that feeling was part of what made me go on a journey to try and figure out what I think consciousness is and where I think it applies and where it doesn't, and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's totally respectable. Yeah, I mean, I'm very convinced if you think it's bad to like abuse an animal, like if you would think that it's bad for somebody to be on the street like fucking like wailing on a dog or something, I think that
Mhm.
I think you're bought in at that point to saying that factory farming is like monstrous.
Yeah,
That like
absolutely.
the torture that goes on there is totally unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but okay, let's say that you do want to salvage the moral intuitions that seems to go really bad for your god. There are just like place after place where God is like commanding like genocides or like giving like slavery laws. Like I feel like God is like wildly unintuitive.
I think there are places that are difficult, and that I have to do work to understand what they could mean.
Sure.
First of all, I'm not committed to everything in the Bible being literal.
Mm.
Second of all, I would say that like things like the slavery laws, I think like even if that event didn't precisely happen in the way it was described, we have the evidence that Israelite society did have slaves, and so that clearly indicates that it wasn't something that was decided to change. To me that doesn't like, I'm not convinced that you could have a functional society again in a Bronze Age period that didn't have slaves.
Why not? Like what would fall apart?
Well, essentially, you'd have to either go back to hunter-gatherers or
Why?
like basic horticultural era stuff, because there's too much work for individuals to do that, and also work on the development of higher values.
Well, but presumably you could just like have children, like have lots of children, and then you all work.
Yeah, but lots of children require lots of food.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But so do slaves.
Not on the same level. Raising a child is way less efficient, as horrible as it sounds, in terms of on an economic level, than.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because if you like import them from like a different society, then you don't have to. You get them for the productive years, but you don't get them for like the non-productive years.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, but then that would
I
seem
also
to
think that
be.
if you look at history,
That would
like,
seem
if
to
you
give a
look at
reason to not want your slaves to have children. In fact, I don't know. That also seems like, okay, even if that is like efficient for the society, it seems like it's kind of hard to get over the hurdle that it's like giga monstrous, that it's like still like a horrible thing to do.
I think I think it is a horrible thing to do, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't the correct choice.
But God doesn't show any remorse for it. I don't know. It seems
So,
like if it was like a tragic choice for God, then you'd see like a hint of remorse.
well,
But
only
instead,
if
he's
that
like,
would
nope,
be is
you
what would
can
be appropriate for the people.
you can own him, you can beat him, you can do all that.
Yeah. Like for the record, I think that was entirely morally unacceptable.
Could God have actualized a timeline wherein none of that would have been necessary?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that if when you face the problem on an abstract level, the reality of separateness is going to create suffering, and I'm not sure if you could create, like, if you like redid the worlds, it would necessarily be better. Like that there is a way that you could have that without slavery. Like, because like, would it be better? Like, do you think that the world would be better without people, for example?
Oh, like from like a utilitarian standpoint.
No, from your personal.
Oh no, I mean I think life is good. I think that right now humans are like catastrophic to the environment, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. No, I think that humans are valuable.
Right, but that it's a world without humans would have no slaves.
Hmm. So that's the question, right? Like, could we have basically the same timeline and then no slaves because God, I don't know, he actualizes the timeline where simply nobody chooses to attack, or he actualizes the timeline where,
Well, if nobody chooses to attack, then there's not choice in that sense. Like, there's not the capacity to do good or evil, right?
are you saying that they have libertarian free will?
No.
Oh, well, if it's deterministic, then presumably God could create like the scenario where where you don't need slaves.
So I think, again, I think it depends on perspective. So I think that, again, like I'm inclined towards determinism. I also think that, actually, it'd be interesting to hear what you think of this argument, that it's that things are either determined by previous causes that are predictable, or they're random.
Yeah, that everything is either. I mean, I don't accept libertarian free will.
No, I'm aware of that. I don't accept it either. So, but anyway, it's a separate point.
Yeah,
What we're
sure.
saying,
That sounds like about right.
and so it was just a side point. My point in terms of free will is I believe that from our perspective, right, we are a system that is operating. It might be operating deterministically, but our choice is manifest as it's a form of compatibilism, essentially. But it takes perspective. So I think that from my perspective, I have free will because the evaluation process that goes on is precisely my thinking. And the conclusion that I choose to reach, and the decision that I make is precise. What that is on an ontological level is precisely those deterministic processes working out, which practically makes it so that I, from my perspective, have free will, even though others from their perspective don't have. Others from my perspective don't have free will.
Do you think God is morally responsible for slavery?
Yes.
Okay, so you would say that God is like blameworthy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that seems, I don't know. I mean, do you think that God punishes people who are blameworthy?
Sometimes, not always.
Okay, it would seem to follow from that we shouldn't be praising God to like a substantial degree.
I don't think so. I think that God is blameworthy in circumstances, and God is praiseworthy in other circumstances.
Yeah, that's fine. But then I don't know, like that's true of everyone. That I mean, like God kind of just seems to be like just a guy then.
I think that the levels are different, and I think that very often the situations in which God is blameworthy is a manifestation of human suffering and of the inability, and I wouldn't like, because I'm not convinced of objective morality beyond the, I think people have ethical intuitions and I think people should follow their ethical intuitions, but because beyond that, I think that people can, from their circumstances as an individual, say, that this circumstance is entirely unacceptable for God to have created, and still decide and still choose to praise God.
So maybe I should have just done this from the beginning, but there's just like a ton of verses that are going to affirm that God is all good. Would you just reject all of them, or?
Give me some examples.
Yeah, Psalm 145:17, the Lord is just in all his ways and kind in all his doings. If you're off the app, I can't hear you. Got to be on the app.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm on my laptop now. So it's
Psalm 145:17.
145:17. First of all, Psalms is probably not a good place to make this argument, specifically because it's poetry.
So you would say that it's like false then?
Well, I'm going to go read the verse.
Sure.
Just give me 1 second. Tzaddik Hashem b'chol devarcha v'chassid b'chol ma'av. So if you read the Hebrew, first of all, it says that essentially God is righteous in all of his paths, ways, and is chassid, which is like kind and loving in all of his deeds. I think, yeah. So I think that this is a good argument for you. I would say that this verse comes from someone who is praising God and is in that position where he's recognizing the greatness of creation.
Okay, so you think that it's like not literally true? Or that it's like you think that it's David writing Psalm, right?
Debatably, but sure.
Sure, yeah. But would you then commit yourself to saying that what's said in Psalm is not true, that I should like disregard it, or just that
I
it's
would
like
say
his
that it needs to be
opinion?
taken within the style of literature that it is, right? And I would also say that this returns to the Neoplatonic position that I took earlier, which is that the blame towards God can be accurately placed towards God's presence, but not the Shekhinah in Hebrew, and not towards the infinite God.
1 sec. Is this? Let me. Okay, if you're not going to accept Psalm, what about Exodus 34:6?
Exodus.
I got the Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness.
Yeah, so this is describing God's qualities.
Do you think that he's like abounding in love?
Yeah.
Okay. That seems inconsistent with the ways that he's behaved.
Well, it says Rachum v'chanun, right? So the words are that he is compassionate. The Rachamim is like how would you translate? 1 second, I'm trying to think of the right word. Yeah, is mercy, right? So he's merciful. He's merciful, slow to anger, and he has this this great quality of kindness, right? I think that both of those qualities, the quality of severity and of kindness, can exist within God.
Wait, in terms of what's the slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, you're saying that he is okay. So would you say that he does things that are like wickedly unjust?
No, I think he does things that are blameworthy.
But
So
are they like
okay,
egregiously
so a
unjust?
general moral thing that I would say, which is I think that people can have in situations where both actions are wrong, the person is blameworthy for their result, even if they made the best choice.
I'm not gonna take the bait on that. But do you think that God has done anything that's like egregiously unjust?
No.
Okay. Would you reject like the Amalekite story?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you determine if something in the Bible is true or not?
So it's through the process of literary interpretation.
What about
in rabbinic
the
Judaism?
literature makes you think that the Amalekite stuff is fake?
I would say, well, I mean, so I'm not super familiar with precisely that literature. In the textual analysis, I would say that the personal reason I believe that is false is just on a historical level.
There's
I don't think
historical
that happened.
evidence? What's the historical evidence?
No, I don't think that there's historical evidence for a mass genocide of people.
Mhm.
Like I think we would. I think again, you could say that. It's
Nor
not
is there one for
silenced.
a mass exodus of people either.
Well, it depends on the size of that you think the exodus was.
I don't know, the size that it's characterized. Isn't it like millions?
Well, it depends. It's only if you take the numbers literally.
How many people do you think exodused?
I'm not sure, but probably thousands.
I mean, we don't have any evidence of that even. Like no evidence of any.
Why would we have evidence of that?
Because the Egyptians kept pretty good records.
Not really. They didn't really keep records of anything other than their successes.
Really? You don't think that they kept records of like anything
Well, if you
related
look
to
at the
failures?
records that we have in Egypt, an awful lot of them are from what was engraved upon religious sites and on the burial tombs and stuff.
Well, this seems that could totally be true. Let me just do a quick Google.
Which generally
Did ancient Egyptians write down any of their failures? It looks like what you said is like just false. Okay, sure. That in terms of like royal monument inscriptions, that it is like victories, successes. Yeah, that's obvious. But in terms of like other things that are written down, no, they wrote down like a lot of stuff about like failures, like labor strikes and famine and things of that sort.
And that was, you see that in like the records that we found. Because we do have records of slave revolts, right?
Oh, based. Oh yeah, apparently there's an entire Wikipedia page. The Deir el Medina strikes were a series of strikes by the artisans who worked on the tombs in the Egyptian Valley of the Kings, the most notable of which occurred in the 29th year of the reign of King Ramses III, around 1000 BC.
Right.
So I don't know.
So we see the evidence for that in what's the type of documentation?
It's written.
As in, like, is it like, you know? Because I know they kept records of like, you know,
like written on limestone.
Yeah, so I mean the literary category. Like, because they had like practical records of, you know,
Like
this person sold
letters?
these things. Right. Okay. So letters between.
A letter from the 29th year of the reign of Ramses III was written by the pharaoh, by the scribe. We are exceedingly impoverished. All supplies for us that are from the treasury, that are from the granary, and that are from the storehouse have been allowed to be exhausted. Not light a load of dinstone, 6 oip of grain have been taken away from us, beside to be given to us as a 6 oip of dirt. Let our Lord make for us a means for keeping alive. Indeed, we are dying besides. We do not live at all, i.e., the means of keeping alive is not given to us in the form of anything whatsoever.
So this is a request that he's making to someone else for help?
Unclear.
Okay.
It's at least writing it down.
And you think that if there was an exodus of thousands of Jews, that it would appear in such things?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I mean, it might or it might not, but like the lack of evidence isn't particularly damning.
So, I mean, if this like strike of artisans working on, I don't know, like the burial grounds, if that's like noteworthy enough, it's not clear why the other one wouldn't be noteworthy enough.
Well, it's not a question of noteworthy enough alone, right? There's also a question of simply what happened to survive.
What happened? Oh, sure. What happened to survive? Well, but then the fact that there's no mention of it is unexpected.
I don't think so. I think it's only unexpected if you think that there were millions.
Even with thousands, I think it's unexpected. I think that that's the sort of thing. 1,000 slaves, thousands of slaves leave, and there's no note of it anywhere.
I don't think that.
I guess like which parts of the Bible do you think are accurate?
I can't give an exhaustive list, but I can.
Can you give me like some examples of things that are yeah?
So I would say anything historically after David.
Which books would that include?
So, it would be. So David is in Samuel. So I think that parts of that are certain. I would say I don't know exactly which is after what. I can look it up.
If your God isn't all good, why would we expect for what's in the Bible to be truthful?
I would say I would ask why that would be a requirement.
For it to be truthful? You believe in it.
No, as in why it would be a requirement for God to be good in order for it to be truthful.
Because otherwise we have no reason to expect that it would be truthful.
I would say that you could have other reasons.
But why would we expect God to be truthful in his transmission?
No, I think we could expect first of all, I would say that my understanding of what the Torah is does not come under the category of things that God could have done that would not be good from the human perspective.
The things that appear are things when it is so bad, then you just reject it.
Huh?
Like with the Amalekites, right? When the stories do get that bad.
Happen.
If it did happen, would you think that would be, I don't know, like a counterexample?
If it did happen, and I believe that God commanded it, yeah, that would be concerning.
Okay. I guess I'm still like super confused. Why why would we expect God to be truthful if he's not all good?
I think it's a trust that's built off a relationship.
But why would I trust him? He has
But
ways
I'm
that are
saying,
way
because
higher than my ways.
if you have a relationship, which gets back to my original point about meditation, which is if you have consistent relationship with God, and then you have that communication that feels two-way, then you can start to build trust in the same way as you would in any other agent.
But why would we think that God is honest or reliable?
Why would you think that anyone is honest and reliable? It's because they consistently demonstrate that to be the case.
Because God acts for reasons that are beyond our comprehension, for ends that we have no idea about, towards goals and in plans that we can't even begin to fathom. So why would I think that in all of these plans and higher ways that God wouldn't have a reason to just lie to us about all of it?
I think that my experience has been that that's not the case. I think that there is a possibility that that my closest friends are like narcissistic psychopaths who have invented this whole thing for the sole purpose of manipulating me. But that's not like, I think that's a live possibility, but it's not a reasonable position for me to take, and I trust them because they've consistently demonstrated reliability.
Okay, but God hasn't consistently demonstrated reliability.
Well, I'm saying he has to me.
But then in order to arrive at this conclusion, you literally have to throw out like tons of portions of the Bible.
Well, I need to interpret portions of the Bible within the system that I believe in.
Okay, but that involves like systematically like disbelieving parts that are, I don't know, like hard to square.
Yeah, I think the process of figuring out how we're going to square our lived experience of God with the text is a reliable process through doing that, combined with our oral transmissions.
Okay, so you're saying that the reason that you have to believe that God is honest is because you have like experiences with him, and then the parts that would make him seem dishonest or like evil, in fact, you simply don't believe in those, so those aren't counterexamples.
No, I think that's not, that's too crude.
Okay.
I would say that
what's the basis by which you don't believe in the Amalekite slaughter?
Historical, I said.
Yeah, like specifically what?
I don't. From my understanding, I don't think it aligns with the peoples that existed at the times.
You've said that claim like 3 times. I'm just wondering, like, what's the evidence?
So do you think that there was a people that were called Amalekites that existed at that time?
Totally agnostic to it. I'm asking you, what's your basis for thinking that they didn't exist?
Well, I think that there is no evidence of a people that called themselves that or that were called that by the Israelites.
Okay, and would we expect evidence if they got like completely wiped out?
Yeah.
Why?
There's lots of evidence of peoples that got wiped out.
Like who?
Like, let me Google. Like in South America.
Like, for example, like the Aztecs, or?
Yeah.
Well,
the Neanderthals.
Well, we have genetic evidence for that as well as fossil evidence for that. But then in terms
that's
of
actually
like,
good. That's a different. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, in terms of like South America, this is like written. It's written down by people, and we know who those people are.
Right.
And we have.
What is in? We have evidence of cultures that died off before Western explorers got there.
Sure, like structures or whatnot, but it's unclear to me if no evidence. It just seems like there's like a bit of a double standard, right? So no evidence is the basis for saying the Amalekites didn't exist, but no evidence is not a sufficient basis for saying like the Exodus didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I think they're different categories of claims.
Why would you believe that the Exodus did happen?
Because it says so in the Torah.
And why would you believe the Torah?
Because my relationship with God has been through the Torah, and I've found it a fruitful thing to believe in.
Okay, but why would you think that? Do you think that something being fruitful for you means that it's true?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so then we would agree that that's not good evidence. In terms of the relationship being like built through the Torah, I don't know, like why would you think that the thing that you feel reliably tracks on to like the spiritual realm?
Could you say the question again?
Why would we think that whatever it is that you're experiencing reliably tracks onto the spiritual realm?
I'm not sure if I'm not certain it does, but I think that it's the best explanation I have.
What about, I don't know, like what about like hallucinations?
Sure, but it's in to me it's hard to differentiate that from the brains in the vat. I don't know how I would like my position in the world as an epistemic agent is that I form my worldview based on my perceptions and my memories, right? And I could assume that I am insane or that I'm a brain in the vat or any of these sorts of things. But I don't, because that's not a valid and it's not a reasonable interpretation. I think skepticism is bad philosophy. As a position that there is no
Sure, but what if you have
improperly
evidence
anything.
that the sort of feeling that you're feeling is associated with like hallucinations? Wouldn't that give you a good reason to think that what you're experiencing is likewise a hallucination?
So you're talking about the temporal lobe scans? You mentioned
Yeah,
earlier?
yeah. For example, or like people with temporal
Um,
lobe epilepsy having like hyperreligiosity is it's like one of the side effects.
Yeah. So I think that is reason to be skeptical. I don't think it's reason to throw out experiences that are profoundly meaningful.
It could be like profoundly meaningful, but then like false.
It could be, but I don't have a reason to think it is.
Except for like the fact that what you experience is experienced by people who are hallucinating. Unless you think that God is giving like just like extra spiritual experiences to people with this exact
That's not what I
condition.
would say. I would say that the perceptions that. So I would say a different version of that, which is that essentially there are structures within the world that prevent us from recognizing the oneness of being, and those can be destroyed. Those can be messed with in a disturbed way or in a healthy way. And the key difference in my books, like in psychology, the way you define a mental illness is precisely that it has a damage upon someone's life. And my understanding is that these categories of spiritual experiences that are consciously triggered, that are had within a system, are the opposite of that. And so I don't think it would be reasonable to put them in the same category as people with mental illness, despite the fact that they might be perceiving this a similar thing.
Wait, sorry. My claim isn't that it's like harmful for you. My claim is that it's false and that you have a good reason to think that it's false because the regions of the brain that cause the thing that you're feeling are the same regions in the brain that are firing when people are having hallucinations about the same things that you're hallucinating about.
So you're saying that because mentally ill people perceive similar things, perceive religious
not even I wouldn't even load it in that way that it's like, oh, these people are mentally ill. Just that, you know, what's happening there for these people is a hallucination. It's not real. It's the same region of the brain that's associated with yours. Because this seems to lead to the absurd conclusion that God is singling out people with temporal lobe epilepsy as the ones that he wants to give like the extra spiritual experiences to.
I'm not saying so. That's why I explicitly said that the recognition that reality is one that can be chased or can be thrust upon you.
Okay, so you're
I
saying
think
God is giving these people extra spiritual experiences.
no, I'm saying that these people in a dysfunctional way work themselves into a true realization that they are incapable of handling.
You think that they did that themselves? I'm confused.
No, I think it just happens through bad luck.
Okay, but why would I do you think that what they're experiencing is like accurate to reality? Like the people who are
Somewhat depends on what they're experiencing. Also, the type of the things that they describe seem to be categorically different from the things that me and similar people describe.
a tornado.
You okay?
Yeah. Fuck. That's cool. What? I'm fucking nowhere close to that. Whatever.
That happens to me too sometimes.
Wow. No, I do have to get going though. Well, hey,
Okay.
I appreciate the discussion. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank
Yep.
you for talking to me.
Goldeek, thanks so much for the super chat. If the Egypt miracle is true, why give some people undeniable proof while others never get it? That sounds pretty unfair considering the consequence. Yeah, they were doing like this fucking like horse and pony show for the longest time, and then God was like, nope, no more. Darkness 40K, thanks so much for the super chat. I did want to pay directly with Venmo or Cash App, but both are blocked in the UK. Have you considered a PayPal account to take donations? Great stream as always, keep it up. I've considered this, but I think I would need to attach my real name to it, which is not acceptable. So, okay. Oh, sorry, I have more. But let's get a big W for Darkness 40K. I appreciate the 20 British pounds. Bill Ashby, thanks so much for the super chat. Many worlds is the interpretation face value math. Yep, true. Nick Budo, thanks so much for the super chat. Forget the burning bush. He split the Red Sea. Oh, fuck, that's not good. Oh, boy. I do not feel good about my power situation. Molly, if it cuts out, you can just end the stream or whatever. Exploding Tiger, thanks so much for the super chat. Just to check in, the caller began by saying, are you guys there? Is anyone there in chat? Molly, are you there? Is my shit already fucked? Is it too late? Okay, one sec. I wonder how bad it is. Interesting. The answer is quite bad. Holy shit. Okay. One sec. Just check in. This caller began by saying that the voice in the head told him suffering exists because there's no other way. True. Adrianarchy, thanks so much for the super chat. Jesus Christ, this guy loves slavery. I think he disliked slavery, but he sure did run the slavery apologetics. Simeon Churin, thanks so much for the super chat. His entire argument has been just special pleading. Could be true. But okay. Listen, I'm gonna drop a new video and then I have to get the fuck out of here. I gotta fucking cross my fingers and hope that oh, okay, it's already public. W. All right.